What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Omni-sensei here with What If I Were Reborn in Lucifer/DC as Lucifer Morningstar? The King of Hell. Part 2. If you enjoy this type of content, please set the like button ablaze. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Remember to check out the original story linked in the description. Let's dive into the legend of the King of Hell without further ado. I would prefer it you do not call me by that name, Father, for you would be mistaken to think of me as the angel Samuel. That one died a long time ago, Lucifer responded as he turned around, his voice even and cold. To those who truly knew him, they noticed the slight pause of shock and fear before he spoke. Gabriel and the goddess could not blame him, for to most God would be simply standing there, before them, still an intimidating sight, but nothing compared to the truth. For they knew they could feel it, he was everywhere. His presence filled practically every inch of space in hell. They could feel him passing through their very being, through the very spaces between their essences. It was suffocating. It was one of the main reasons Samuel rebelled, for he always felt exposed as if being observed under a microscope. The only relief he sometimes had was when his parents argued and he could convince Michael to aid him in staying hidden so he could repair everything. But even those moments were fleeting and made him feel guilty, for he hated how he sometimes looked forward to their arguments for the comfort it brought, even though his siblings and children were dying when they did. For me to call upon you differently, for you to no longer bear the name El of God, is for me to disown you, son, and despite all your faults I do not have it in me to do so. The presence retorted, his voice even and cold to most, but to those who could sense him, they felt the possessiveness in his claim as his hold on Lucifer became tighter. To others, being the favorite was something to be envied. To Lucifer it was always a curse, for it brought with it his father's focused observation, his complete attention to whatever he did and thought, save for his thoughts about his past life. Though that is unknown to the divine being, it was a hell like no other. To the host, him being the favorite was the most free a being could be, while in actuality it was the greatest shackles one could have. I did not miss this. I really did not miss this. Damn it, why did I have to call him here? Damn this necessity. Lucifer thought to himself with great frustration, while doing his very best to not allow anyone to notice how small he currently felt under his father's gaze. Leviathan though did, and he could not help himself to shudder, furious, saddened, hateful towards God at seeing his father, who he always saw as invincible, be reduced to such a state. But he kept himself silent because he knew nothing he could do right now would be of benefit. Rather, any interference would be a detriment to his father's plans by calling upon his grandfather's presence. Let us get to the point, Father. We are both very busy beings. Lucifer began, wanting to end the situation and be as far as possible from his father as one could be in creation, and the sooner the better. Last I checked on the day of my first direct disobedience was that I received authority only over humanity. So what is this about me having to also be a warden for Mother? On the day you were crowned king of this realm, my son, you agreed to the role of punishing all who I have created and sent here. It may have been because you let your emotions cloud your judgment, but nonetheless, you agreed to that very deal, and had not come to me when you were in a better state, so you without doubt agreed to those conditions. Yahweh responded. Does not mean you did not take advantage of my state of being at that moment, Lucifer thought to himself bitterly, but knew better than to voice it out loud. His father most definitely still heard him, but speaking something and thinking something are two very different things in his father's eyes because of his whole, making an example of those disobedient. That may be so, but as you exactly just stated right now, the deal is about your creations. Last I checked, Mother was not a creation of yours, Father, or am I wrong? Lucifer questioned rhetorically, though deep down a hint of fear blooming in his heart at the possibility of his father actually having created the goddess, for that would make her practically useless to him. No, I have not. Asherah, my wife, has till we met always existed as her own being outside of my will of being existent. The presence responded. I noticed the words till now, Father. Don't forget, I am also a master at spinning truth. This simply means that till you were aware of her, she was outside of your sphere of influence. Lucifer thought to himself, irritated. He knew his father stated his words in that way as a form of mockery against him, most definitely knowing his plans for her, which now a great deal of them having become useless. Since that is the case, I am under no obligation to be my mother's keeper, but since I am a generous son, I am willing to make another deal adding to the existing one. Lucifer proposed. Pray tell, Samuel, What is it you desire in exchange, my son? God questioned, amused. I desire complete and utter authority over the punishment the goddess Asherah receives, be it the location, the duration, the form, and every clause that falls under it, Lucifer stated to the shock of the host and the goddess, who felt a great love bloom towards her wayward son, for his care towards her, unaware of his current thoughts. I have half a mind ready to demand he unchain the thoughts he has kept me from, but I know that won't be beneficial in the long run. No, in the long run, I need Mother completely at my side, under my authority. She is a well of knowledge that is older than creation. If there is any secret or way to escape this prison, then she is my only source to obtain it. The problem is whether he'll agree or not. Lucifer thought to himself, tense, as he stood in wait for his father's response. At his proposition, God looked thoughtful for a moment until he smiled, and Lucifer recognized that smile is the same smile he himself gives his children while thinking, I know you're playing me, but it is cute and amusing, so I'll allow it. Lucifer had to use every ounce of control he had not to lash out at such mockery, but he held it in because it made it so he got what he wanted. Hold it in, Lucifer. There is no point in lashing out now. There is no point in demanding for your sealed thoughts to be released, for the limitations to be lifted, for no one would truly take your side. The Morningstar thought to himself as he continued to force himself to remain composed. He knew if he made known to the host the restrictions that it wouldn't be immediately seen as a betrayal by their father because of their worship of him, seeing him as infallible. They'll simply question if I would still rebel or not, and I know myself, and I know I would, and I don't lie. Father, knowing it too, will simply respond with confirmation, and without any need for explanation, they'll simply believe he did what he did for the greater good. No point in earning Father's ire and losing on this deal for that. Lucifer thought to himself bitterly. Very well, Samuel, but before I completely accept, I will add a clause of my own, God stated. And what would that be, Father? The king of hell questioned, wary, the observers also very tense. Your demands of complete and utter authority can be interpreted in the way of me bestowing upon you power enough to truly do anything to her, which I refuse. You may have the authority of choice, but the authority of power to make what you wish to do with her reality falls upon your own abilities. Yahweh explained. Lucifer himself found this acceptable. He never intended that either, but he understood his father's need to clarify this. I accept. Lucifer responded, now can I take that as acceptance from you as well, Father? The presence nodded, I, the ruler of existence, Yahweh, the father of the archangel Samuel, the light bringer, accept the terms discussed between my son and I, all of existence be witness. He spoke, his words reaching every corner of reality, and as his words ended, so too did his presence. As he left in a burst of light, the host immediately following behind him. All that remained, there was the archangel alongside his mother and son. It is good to see you as you are before me, Mother. We have much to discuss. Lucifer stated, his voice cold as he approached her, looking her in the eyes, his own burning. Lucifer, son, I am so thankful for what you have done for me, the goddess stated weakly as Lucifer carried her to an empty, unused room, next to his and his wife's inside the palace that was the heart of the pandemonium, the capital city of hell, the very heart of hell itself. Don't expect this hospitality without price, Mother. I have many questions for you, Lucifer told her as he laid her down on a bed, picking up a chair so that he could sit next to her bed. You may ask anything, son. As long as I have the answer, I will give it to you, she stated, as she continued to pant, a sign of her exhaustion. Tell me, why did you rebel? Why did I see a sea of souls fall into hell as soon as you did? Questioned the archangel. I rebelled because of how he refrained from punishing those sickening humans, she hissed. I flooded the entire earth to kill them all, and I would have if not for him saving a few. And why would you do that? Last I checked, Mother, you preferred those humans over me, Lucifer stated, his voice cold. Asherah, though, could easily see through the hurt her son hid behind his words. I did not prefer humanity over you, Lucifer. I preferred Adam over you. Adam is not humanity. His children have forsaken his great characteristics. She explained as she adjusted herself on the bed. And that makes it oh so better, how? The Morningstar questioned bitterly. You appreciate honesty more than anything, son, and for that, I am choosing not to lie to you. Adam was. He, like you, as you very well know, was also my son, my youngest, the goddess began, her tone fond as she had a reminiscent look in her eyes. He was kind, grateful, and I wasn't? Lucifer interrupted, hurt evident in his voice. Of course you were. But that was so in the beginning, son. Your questions, though disliked by husband and I, were not something that made us favor any over you because of how wonderful you were. So beautiful, bright, wise, intelligent, kind, and humble. But you changed, son. You became bitter, hateful, and full of rage. We could sense it. And nothing we did appeased you. You only saw it as us attempting to control you, and weren't you? Weren't you trying to control me, mother? You think I did not realize that there are gaps in my memories? That there are mental walls around certain topics I am unaware of? Lucifer hissed, causing the goddess to wince. I myself did not do so, son, and wish there was another way. It was one of the many reasons for arguments we had, yet Yahweh was too adamant and did it without my permission, Ishira explained defensively. And yet you never told me why? You could have done so, rebelled earlier yet did not choose to. You chose to allow it to happen. A knowing accomplice. Lucifer countered, wrathful as his eyes burned with hellfire. I did it because I didn't want to lose you. She suddenly snapped, tears of light streaming down her face. What? Lucifer exclaimed in bafflement until the words truly registered. Mother, tell me now what he has hidden from me. I want, nay, I demand you to tell me exactly what he has hidden from me, Lucifer growled, his tone leaving no room for discussion. I can't, I won't lose you, no, not you too, Ishira stated through her hiccups as tears continued to stream down her face. I insist, Lucifer stated coldly, as all of creation could feel the morning stars will imposing itself upon the goddess. He. She began but continued to resist. Come now, mother, continue, tell me, the Lightbringer commanded, his tone as cold as ice. His patience was running thin as his will was enforced even more viciously. He made you go on, Lucifer demanded, gripping her shoulders, making her sit up and look him in the eyes with a conflicted gaze, fighting his influence as he himself had anticipation clear in his voice. He at first thought that the thoughts sealed from him were merely influences that could have prevented him from accepting to rule hell, but now that his mother seemed to have contradicted that, and that it in fact may hold the key to his freedom, he decided to show her no mercy. She had violated his mind, it not being through her own abilities, not making her innocent, for she consciously withheld the knowledge of what was being done from him. She allowed it to continue when she knew about it, and for that, he felt no injustice or revulsion towards him doing the same to her right now, enforcing his will upon her mind. Be unable to think of escaping to another reality, she finished, and as she did, Lucifer felt as if he was underwater and an explosion was happening beyond it right above him. His ears were ringing as finally that fog cleared and the wall-shattered memories sealed away, rushing back in. Of course, the leaving of this reality. The possibility of the existence of other realities. Mother and father leaving this one in the show. The version of me from the comics escaping into what was named the Overvoid. This is all possible. Lucifer thought to himself in shock. But how? Lucifer questioned himself, still in shock, still unable to remember it all, still feeling as if some things were hidden from him. He knew what his other self and his other parents did, but he just couldn't remember how they did it. You forced your will upon me. How could you, son? The goddess questioned, feeling betrayed as she fell back onto the bed. Spare me your hurt feelings, mother. It compares nothing to the violation you have brought upon me. Lucifer hissed, warmth and sympathy completely devoid of his voice, a hint of his monstrous voice coming through. Now tell me, what else has he kept from me? Answer me. He demanded, his voice now turning into a monstrous growl as his devil face started to completely manifest, reacting towards his rage. ONT now, she mumbled, horrified. Speak clearly. He roared, causing her to flinch. I don't know. I really don't know. She screamed, as her tears increased, desperate for him to believe her. You really don't. Lucifer mumbled to himself as he could sense the truth in her statement, his visage starting to return to normal. He clicked his tongue, frustrated, as he turned around, walking away. Then you're currently useless to me. Lucifer stated, frustrated. He stopped at the door as he continued to hear the cries of his mother, a sense of guilt blooming within his chest, one that he couldn't for the life of him understand why he felt. Why should he feel guilty for what he did to her? It is not as if she didn't do worse to him, and more for eons untold. And yet he couldn't help himself but to say, I'm sorry, causing for a moment the goddess's cries to stop as he then opened the door and left the room. A knock echoed against the door of the room where the fallen goddess holed herself up in, crying and howling in sorrow for decades on end now. Lady Goddess, Ishira heard a woman say as she opened the door and entered it, gazing upon the former queen of the heavens curled up in on herself against the wall of the bed at having been forsaken by her children and husband. Lilith, the goddess, spoke out in surprise, her cries stopping for the first time in decades as she looked up and saw the queen of hell before her. "What are you doing here, child?" Ishira questioned. "Is it not the right of a mother to be visited by her children in her time of need? Am I not your daughter?" Lilith questioned gently, no judgment, only curiosity in her tone as she sat on the chair Lucifer sat on decades ago. "Of course you are," the goddess stated as she slowly wiped her eyes. "I may have not have agreed with your decisions, daughter, nor did I disagree with your punishment, but I still would never disown you, Lilith. You will always be a beloved daughter of mine." Lilith smiled at this. She expected no different from Ishira. She knew she'd still disagree with her choices, but that her love was still there was good enough for her. "Well, to answer your question, mother, is that I came to check on you. I believe it is time you left this room and that you stop wallowing in your misery. What is there else for me to do then, daughter? I am weakened, so weak in fact that I am useless, a rebellious wife in your father's eyes and an even more useless weight for your husband, my dear light bringer." Ishira countered. "You still care about that?" Lilith questioned curiously. "Of course, why wouldn't I? My husband is still my husband, and my son is still my son. Why would I not care for them?" Questioned Ishira, confused. "Well, God did banish you from heaven, and Lucifer did force his will upon you. I honestly thought you'd hold a grudge." Lilith explained. "This situation is not permanent. My husband and I always get into arguments, and we always stow away a great distance from one another till we make up. This is just another one of his tantrums at me destroying his favorite toys." Ishira stated without any worry in her tone. "Are you truly sure about that, mother? I don't think father really is the forgiving type against those who directly disobeyed him." "I believe I am quite the living proof of that," Lilith countered in a tone expressing her doubt in the goddess's words. "I am his wife, the mother of his children. He cannot have possibly banished me for eternity because of some stupid ungrateful toys." The goddess snapped, anger in her tone, though it was merely a facade, an attempt to outrun the gnawing feeling of fear being born within her heart. "Who did he love more, you or Lucifer?" Lilith retorted, and that question was all she needed to ask for it to become clear to the goddess. She sat there agape for a couple of seconds. He really abandoned me," she murmured in disbelief. Lilith stood up and went to the door. "Once you're ready, come find us. I'm sure my husband has an idea what to do by now," she stated as she left the fallen goddess to stew over what she learned. Niflhel-Wea. The fallen angel howled in agony as wings were ripped off. "Brother, please, what have I done to you to warrant such cruelty?" Satan, the first of the fallen, formerly known as the Angel Prime, God's conscience questioned in a tone of pleading for mercy. "It is not what you have done, my little Satan. It is what you will do if you forget your place," the Morningstar stated, his boot upon the first's chest. "You see, little brother, I have been very, very frustrated lately. With me constantly being within Father's palm no matter where I run or hide, it has simply become too tiring." And so Lucifer pressed his foot, earning a scream of agony from Satan. "I thought, I'm due to a vacation. It has been a long time after all since I've seen my beloved lights. They must miss their father too, but then I realized that if I truly wanted to do so, my kingdom would have to temporarily function without my continued presence." Lucifer explained. "What does that have to do with me?" Satan questioned through his continued howls of pain. "Well, my dear little brother," Lucifer began as he stepped his foot away and picked Satan up by his long hair. "See, all this Lucifer gestures to their surroundings. It can't function without a ruler, and well, the ruler can only be an angel. You probably missed this since you were rotting in darkness for eons, but that's the rules dear old dad set for this place. That brings us to my current predicament. If you're well in hell when I'm absent, I fear that you'll get authority as my regent, which I do not desire, for I already have someone in mind. So the only conclusion left is for you to not be in hell when I'm gone." Lucifer finished, and as he did, Satan's eyes blew even wider than they did before in fear. He was overcome with terror, and akin to a wild beast was scratching and tearing at Lucifer's arm to let him go to no avail. "Please, elder brother, please don't destroy me. Please, 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 I beg you." He continued to plead with tears of terror streaming down his eyes. "Now who said I'm going to destroy you?" Lucifer questioned in a bewildered tone. You're not going to destroy me?" Satan questioned, confused, but also immensely relieved. No, I am not. You still have uses. For now though you are only a nuisance, so Lucifer tightened his grip on Satan's hair as he flung him aside, and as he did a crack in hell appeared from the sheer force of it, Satan gone inside it. Dad knows where that leads to, but without your wings you're guaranteed to not be an inconvenience towards my dear Mazikeen. Lucifer stated with a whistle as he willed the crack shut. Now time to pick up Lilith for our extended vacation. Lucifer said to himself as he spread his wings and took flight, as well as time to implement my new approach. 2 weeks ago, Lucifer was frustrated. Since his partial remembrance, he's been researching and contemplating how he'd possibly escape this reality, but has come up with nothing. The more he thinks, the thicker the fog becomes and the tighter the chains binding him. There is no end to this. No matter how hard I attempt to remember, the thought just escapes me. Damn it all, what should I even do? Lucifer mused to himself, frustrated as he remained seated on his throne within the great empty room. Though as if struck by lightning, he for the first time in months gained an idea of a new approach. Wait a second, a big reason why my rebellion was even possible, that it was possible for me to not become like a puppet with its strings cut at a single command from Dad, is because of my past life as a human. Yet, all these years I have been attempting to escape as an archangel, giving in to my angelic nature and neglecting thereby my human one. I have practically forgotten what it is like to be human, lost near all connection to that part of me, having drowned it in eons of angelic existence. To escape the plan, I may need to not search for the answer in the nature and capability of the angel Lucifer, but the human that was Samuel, for the human was the free one, while the angel has always been the slave. Lucifer contemplated to himself as he finally rose from his throne after months of remaining seated upon it. He, spreading his wings, took flight, for if he was truly going to attempt this, then he needed to take care of a few loose ends first. Present-day Mazikeen, Lucifer called out as he descended at his daughter's training grounds. Father? What are you doing here? If you required my presence, you should have simply called upon me. It is unbefitting for the king of hell to seek his subjects himself. She stated at his approach, stabbing her sword into the ground, earning an endeared chuckle from Lucifer. My dear Mazikeen, always the faithful daughter, worried about her father's reputation, Lucifer stated as he ruffled her head, earning a slash from her sword towards his hand. As feisty as ever as well I see, Lucifer continued as he easily dodged his daughter's blade. You know how much I despise you doing that, she hissed, though deep down, Lucifer knew she enjoyed it but was too embarrassed to admit it. Sure you do, my dear Maze, he retorted playfully. Though before she could give a retort of her own his expression turned serious. Mazikeen, he addressed seriously, causing her immediately to stand straight, ready for whatever order her king is for her. She has always been his most faithful child as well as subject. I'm here to tell you that I'm leaving. Leaving? What do you mean by leaving, father? She questioned, confusion evident in her tone. I'm taking a vacation to clear my head, in more ways than one, he thought to himself. Your mother is coming with me. It is something that can be beneficial to the both of us. Lucifer explained. All right, so you'll stay within the palace longer? Do I have to take care of the directing of the torturing of the damned till you are back? No, Mazikeen, by leaving I mean leaving hell. Your mother and I are going to be visiting Earth, and until we are back you will be my appointed regent of hell. Lucifer clarified. You and mother will leave to Earth? But for how long? She questioned, shocked. I do not know, the time is currently indefinite. I am searching for something and I hope to find it up there. Then send Dramas and a couple demons instead, they should be able to find what you are looking for, you don't need to leave. She yelled, her voice becoming desperate. Mazikeen has grown very close to her father, more than she ever was with her mother. Because of this she's often been called a daddy's girl, though always behind her back. The last one who stated it to her face lost their tongue, unable to heal it for decades. I'm sorry my dear, but I have to do this one myself, Lucifer told her as he brought her into a hug, one that she hesitantly reciprocated. Still not used to gentle touches after constantly battling for survival in these dark lands. Trust yourself my daughter, for know this, in all of creation, there is none who I'd trust with my back more than you. Lucifer told her as he gently kissed her head. They remained like that for a little, while until Mazikeen herself broke the hug and kissed her father's cheek. Lucifer gave her a warm smile. Farewell my dear Maze, I hope to see you once more soon, and when I do, I know you'll have become a queen in your own right, one deserving of a kingdom within these lands. Lucifer stated, earning a wide-eyed look from Mazikeen. for none before have been given any kind of land before in hell, all of it only under the Daystar's guidance. It was a symbol of great trust and honor to receive such a reward. The archangel then spread his wings and took flight towards the palace, and there he saw something unexpected, for it was not only his wife that was waiting there for him but his mother as well. "Have you finished all that you must?" Lilith questioned as he landed. "I have, though it seems you have been busy as well when I was away," he responded as his gaze turned towards his mother. "Son, mother," Lucifer responded, "what is the meaning of this? Why are you here?" He questioned. I have realized that I may have not known my husband as I thought I did." Lucifer waited patiently for a moment for her to continue as she remained silent, but couldn't take it anymore as she remained so. "Go on, speak, what are you trying to say?" Ashera took a deep breath and sighed. "It means that I may have misjudged my actions and may have been in the wrong for choosing Yahweh's side before. I still do not truly know, so I wish to accompany you in this journey you have chosen for yourself to understand you better and be a better mother towards you, one that isn't always observing and commanding from afar. Will you bestow upon me such a chance, my son?" She requested, her tone even, though Lucifer could sense her desperation and genuine desire to know whether she was wrong or not, to make amends or not. "Very well, I'll allow it, but mother, there are no third chances. Make sure you do not fail me again, for if you do, then I cannot know if I will ever have it in me to grant you another chance." The Morningstar warned, earning a bright and warm smile from his mother as she nodded, tears of happiness streaming down her eyes. "Ready?" Lucifer questioned his wife, who stood on the sidelines, a smile on her face. As she nodded, Lucifer spread his wings as wide as he could and enveloped with his will his mother and wife and took flight to the cosmos, his eyes filled with determination. Around 4000 BC Uruk, it has been 5 years since Lucifer had ascended onto the earth alongside his wife and mother. He at first expected heaven to protest and attempt to drag him back into the pit, but it seems either his father had shown him some mercy, highly unlikely, or, which is what he himself sees as the most logical explanation, is that since his mother is with him, this trip can be interpreted as a form of punishment for her, in which case interference is not allowed. Well, for however long his father still sees it as punishment, he supposes. During these years he's bestowed upon his mother a vessel with the visage of Charlotte Richards from the show and decided to work without relying on his angelic abilities, attempting to connect and understand as much as possible what it is to be human, while still being an archangel now. It seems whatever the era people need entertainment, especially since the king of Uruk is the richest in the world and sees his people having hardship as an insult upon his rulership. As a consequence of this, the people are well off, and well-off people need something to enjoy when they aren't constantly worrying about what to put on the table. Lucifer could have chosen many ways to get by as a human, for he was a being of many, many talents, but chose to begin with something simple and familiar. He chose to become a combatant in the arenas. For he was a born warrior, creation's greatest. It was but nature to him to pick up a blade and slay entire armies, so it was but a simple matter of time till he was at the very top. And that is what led to this very moment. "Warrior, you dare to stand before our king without prostrating yourself?" The royal guard captain questioned furiously, as he drew his sword. "I should behead you right now for your defiance." "Enough," a ice-like voice echoed through the Golden Palace's throne room. "The king of Uruk, Gilgamesh, has spoken." "But my kin dash, I prefer not to repeat myself, Amardamu," the king interrupted, his red eyes looking down upon the guard, who in fear immediately lowered his sword and prostrated on the ground. "I have committed a grave error, my king. I deserve 1,000 lashings." Gilgamesh ignored him, as his gaze returned back to the warrior and smirked. "If I did not know better, I would have thought you to be a son of mine with how you posturize, for that self-assurance, confidence and gaze could only belong to a royal like myself." "What am I here for, your majesty?" is all Lucifer questioned, his tone still containing a sense of superiority incapable of ever coming out of an orphaned warrior who took care of his late father's second wife and his own. At least that is the story the goddess spread, Lucifer neither correcting her nor confirming her words. Straight to the point, no fear in his gaze. "Interesting," Gilgamesh thought to himself as he responded. "The gods have issued a challenge against me, a chosen warrior of theirs against one of mine. I have chosen you, Uruk's mightiest warrior, save myself, to represent me. What crime have you committed?" Lucifer questioned, and as he did, everyone in the throne room tensed, but dared not interfere, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire were their king to retaliate. Everything was silent for a moment till a mighty laugh broke out of the king. "You truly are one amusing fellow, to even dare ask such a question. Very well, as a reward for your boldness, I will tell you. I refuse to submit to them." Though as he did the king observed something quite curious, a form of empathy, as if the warrior understood what kind of position the king was in. That all but made the king more interested in this traveler who sought refuge in his kingdom. Tell me, Lucifer a curious name found the king, one that was told to be the same as of the oldest son of the creator of all. Do you accept becoming my champion? You are giving me a choice. The warrior questioned, a hint of surprise in his voice. Of course, I'm not like them, Gilgamesh sneered, everyone present immediately understanding who he meant by them. Besides, an unwilling champion is useless. Your blade will not contain your true fighting spirit. Even the weakest warrior whose spirit is within the battle is more favored in my eyes than the greatest whose sword is but a lump of metal in his hands, rather than an extension of their self. Lucifer started to have some favor bloom within him towards this king. Gilgamesh reminded him of his younger self. If the king were to attempt to threaten or attempt to force Lucifer in any way, he would have beheaded him that very moment, uncaring for any consequences for the future at the loss of the person who had begun all heroic journeys. I accept, Lucifer stated. Gilgamesh at hearing this grinned. Excellent. Now, guards show him the way to the gates of Babylon to prepare him for his battle. Warrior Gilgamesh addressed as Lucifer already started to follow the guard, causing him to pause in his step. You may take anything you wish from there save the my chained sword. Any other weapon divine or otherwise you may take to aid you in this battle, for you opponent will be no mortal unlike yourself. After you win, I am willing to bestow upon you an entire city for you to rule, a mountain of gold and any woman in the kingdom you desire save for my own. Lucifer gave him one more look, then, without any acknowledgement, continued on his way. Now this turned Gilgamesh's mild interest into something fierce, a need for understanding. He showed no signs of greed, lust or otherwise at the gates of the greatest riches in this world being open to him. That should be impossible for any mortal. Does this mean what is before me is no mortal? But that is impossible. I am the mightiest under the heavens, half divine, half human, the perfect equilibrium, one with a perspective superior than even the gods themselves. A swing of my could tear the world asunder. For me to be unable to sense his divinity would mean him to be an even greater being than I, which is ludicrous. But that still begs the question of why this mortal is so different than any of the others. Gilgamesh clicked his tongue in annoyance. No matter, I'll have my answer soon enough after he finishes his duty as my champion. The king thought to himself. As he did, a pillar of fire appeared before him, of which the king gazed upon with wariness and readiness for any form of attack, though one never came, for the fire changed shape into a message. It was the date of the battle, alongside the name opponent. Enkidu. A knock was heard by Lucifer as he was scrubbing the rust off his newly acquired weapon. Enter, though when he saw who it was, the devil was taken by quite a surprise. I have to say, when I heard you picked up but a broken and rusted sword from the storage holding the world's greatest riches, I simply had to come and see for myself. Gilgamesh spoke as he entered, bare-chested with red tattoos, only clothed from the waist down, red wine in hand. Why does he never cover his chest? Even on the throne he didn't. Lucifer mused to himself, annoyed. Apologies if I gave the wrong impression, Your Majesty, but I am only into women. Lucifer suddenly stated, earning a look of bewilderment from Gilgamesh, until he began to chuckle, which changed into full-blown laughter. You truly are the most fearless fellow I have ever laid sight on. The king said as he made himself comfortable on one of the sofas in the room. Worry not, I am much the same in that regard. Gilgamesh reassured. Why are you here then at this ungodly hour? Lucifer questioned. You know, most people show me more respect, Gilgamesh stated, his voice now serious. But you do not, do you? And for the life of me, I cannot begin to fathom why. Stated the ruler as he in one go drunk the entire glass, then set it onto the small table. What makes you think I am not showing you the proper respect? Lucifer questioned, curious towards who this king is, who he has only heard of through his past life, and rumors spread through this kingdom, in which all of them making him seem akin to this untouchable and unapproachable existence, which seems not to be the case from the angel's observation. Well, he knows it was so, save for a friend which Lucifer knows was never himself, but a person named Enkidu. The very fact you ask this question is reason enough. Gilgamesh stated as he spread his arms and leaned back against the sofa. None dare to question me under heaven, none I have met till of course you. All are but open ears, mouths and tongues only filled with flowery words towards myself, which of course is something that is my right. You though do not fit with how mortals are towards me, and my question is now, why are you not the same? The king questioned, looking Lucifer straight in the eyes, his own red eyes unblinking, not willing to miss even the slightest change in form, for the body reveals a lot about a person and their inner selves. Would you wish for me to be so? To be like the rest of them? Lucifer questioned, always answering a question with a question. Gilgamesh narrowed his eyes at this, but answered all the same, "No, it is something new and it doesn't feel wrong. But do not escape my question, answer me." He responded, not even a moment of hesitance. Hesitance the ruler sees akin to a lack of knowledge of oneself, sign of a lack wisdom. For one should always contemplate what they desire or not before they act, in which case hesitance would be an impossibility. And if I do not wish to so? Why do I owe you an explanation, Gilgamesh, king of Uruk? Lucifer stated with not a care towards the king's inquiries besides simple curiosity, as he once more continued with scraping the rust off the broken sword. Gilgamesh stayed silent for a moment. You have entered my kingdom seeking refuge. I believe it is my right to know who it is I let step foot within my home. He stated sternly. Lucifer sighed, very well, ask your questions, and if I deem them to fit your right I shall answer. Are you part divine? Gilgamesh begins, leaning forward, his attention now completely focused on Lucifer's next words. I am, Lucifer answered, his voice even. How do you hide yourself from my senses? How am I not aware of your nature? The king continued. It is a part of my abilities, Lucifer answered, and it was, he simply willed it to be so, and it was, though to Gilgamesh it brought forth another answer. I see, it is not because his strength is superior to mine, but because of his divine ability. I have heard that entities with divinity closely associated with death are near undetectable. Either this warrior before holds such a divinity or carries an item of such on his person, hidden from my acute senses. What are your intentions for entering my kingdom disguised as completely mortal? Gilgamesh asked, and this was the deal-breaker. If the answer did not suit him, then there will be a battle. Lucifer stayed silent for a moment as he finished scrubbing the rust off the broken blade. I hold no ill will towards you or your people. I am on a journey to understand myself, and believe this to be a good place to start after hearing of it from those I trust. The Lightbringer answered seriously, his tone sincere. Gilgamesh noted this, and after a moment of silence nodded, satisfied. Very well, now come with me, the king ordered as he stood up, beckoning a questioning look from the archangel to where and why. For a spar, I know a place where we will not be disturbed and able to be as destructive as we desire. Gilgamesh said with a challenging grin. At this hour? It is completely dark, Lucifer remarked. So? The champion you will be fighting may be a completely divine being, and one such as ourselves can come with a variety of abilities. You should be ready to battle in every situation and environment, and who else would be a better opponent to prepare for such things than myself, the mightiest and most skilled under heaven? Gilgamesh stated as he then left, gesturing to the devil to follow along. Lucifer refrained from stating that he was actually already leagues above him in every category, and simply decided to follow along, for he has yet to fight a decently strong opponent while limiting himself. As Lucifer and Gilgamesh entered a golden rippling gate, Gilgamesh stated, his tone proud, This is my own dimension, named Babylon. It is, as you have most definitely realized, named after my own capital city. I do not think the introduction's necessary. I have been here once before already. But thank you nonetheless. Lucifer casually stated. Ah yes, when you picked up that rusted blade. But even then, you were only within the storage, and that is nothing compared to its entirety. The king countered, and he was correct. The dimension was the size of a great city, rivaling the very city it was named after in size, and every bit of it was made of gold. Its very streets and buildings were made of gold and decorated with every bit of jewelry one could think of. Its fountains made of milk and chocolate that would never spoil, and the cleanest of waters. It was truly a sight of great beauty, only surpassed by the Silver City and Lucifer's own created paradise in hell. The city seemed to be akin to an extension of the king, for at a mere gesture it felt as if it shifted in a way that the arena was now before them, no longer needed for them to walk the distance. This here will be the arena where we will commence our combat. But tell me truly, is that sword all you will use against me? It is barely able to keep itself together, let alone aid you in a battle against a being such as myself, Gilgamesh stated as golden armor enveloped and a sword that seemed to overflow with divine power appeared within his hand. Though what was most peculiar to the Lightbringer was not these, but a power that seemed to course through being and nest within his eyes. Curious, aren't you, about this power I possess? Gilgamesh remarked as he noticed Lucifer's attention. No matter, I am not one to hide my intentions within the shadows. So I will explain. What you are witnessing is my Sha Nakbar Imuru. It is a power I have had since I was a child, Sha Nakbar Imuru. The Sha Omniscient, Nakba, Omnipotent Star, Imuru. Lucifer thought to himself. Quite the lofty name, the Morningstar commented. It quite suits me, don't you think? Gilgamesh stated proudly in an almost humoristic fashion, looking as if expecting praise, receiving only a deadpan look from Lucifer. You truly don't know how to enjoy yourself, do you? Be that as it may, I have promised to explain it to you, so I will. This power allows me to see through the truth of a being's past and present, which will even open the gates for me to understand its future, and I am going to use it upon you in this battle. The king stated, a serious expression on his face. Did I not grant you the permission to ask whatever you wished? Why go to such lengths? Lucifer questioned, intrigued by the king's power. It was a bit similar to his own knower of truth capability, but far less applicable than his own, for it applied even to his father, the Presence, who could not lie to him even if he so wished. Because I wish to know why you are still so different, the king explained. I thought you already had your answer. What is it that yet eludes you about myself? Lucifer questioned, intrigued by the king's insistence and a bit impressed. Lucifer himself also would go to practically any length to understand the truth. Heart divine or not, it still does not explain my instincts warning me about you. You say you hold me and what is mine no ill will, but still I find myself more wary of your presence by the moment. I have never betrayed myself and am incapable of doing so, so the problem lies with you. But I am not a cruel king. I will bestow upon you the opportunity to defend your secrets. Let us have a bet, Gilgamesh proposed. A bet? What are you suggesting? Lucifer questioned, intrigued, but also very much amused, which the king did note but decided not to comment on. You have chosen that rusted blade over there over everything else in my treasury, so you must, no doubt, be very trusting of your own capabilities. Your blade must, no doubt, hold secrets, for I would never keep something worthless. My point, though, still stands. I propose that with every hit, be it even as small as a scratch, I will use my ability against you and see through your secrets. If you are capable of lasting 5 minutes against me in combat without fainting, then you have won our bet, Gilgamesh explained. And what do I receive were I to win this bet? Lucifer questioned. You misunderstand. The fact I have bestowed upon you this opportunity is reward in and of itself, for I could have always used it without giving you the chance to defend yourself. The king countered as he swung his sword a couple of times to get a feel for it. Lucifer contemplated his words. The fallen archangel could have of course prevented the king's ability from working against him, so this wasn't truly the reward he was presenting it as. But Lucifer did feel a sense of respect towards Gilgamesh for bestowing such a chance upon someone who he thought was below him rather than fully oppressing them. That did not mean, though, he would take this lying down. No, I still believe I should receive some moniker of reward were I to win this bet, Lucifer reiterated. What do you then propose I should reward you with? Gilgamesh questioned as he stabbed his sword into the ground and crossed his arms, intrigued, for Lucifer before this moment did not even show the slightest interest in anything he had previously offered, while another would be kissing the very floors he walked on as thanks for what he presented. Truth for truth, past for past, thought for thought. Were I to win this and you manage to gain some knowledge over me, then I expect to receive something of equal value from your own past, your majesty, Lucifer responded in a challenging tone. Gilgamesh stayed silent for a moment as mulled over Lucifer's words. You truly see yourself winning this, don't you? Otherwise you wouldn't propose this. Very well, I accept, Gilgamesh stated as he readied himself for combat. Of course. There is after all always reason for hope. Nothing can kill hope after all, Lucifer stated, he readying himself as well, and soon after all hell broke loose. As the battle begun, Gilgamesh immediately burst forward with incredible force, swinging down against the archangel. Lucifer, having limited himself by refusing to use any of his personal angelic abilities, knew himself incapable of rivaling such force without going against the limitations he has set upon himself, and so flipped backwards, dodging the mighty strike. Though Lucifer knew that the future king of heroes was holding back considerably as a mere greeting and knew if this became a match of strength then he'd most definitely lose, for he has chosen to only use a human strength level. But what makes Lucifer the greatest warrior in the cosmos isn't the will of God alone, but also his great wisdom and knowledge. With these two he will show the king that he even with a broken sword cannot be defeated by the likes of him. And so he swung his blade with just the force to rattle a leaf. And as he did it seemed as if the city itself was cleaved into two as a large slash of power cleaved its way towards Gilgamesh, who hastily dodged to the side in surprise. How did he generate such force? I felt no divine power in that swing. The king though to himself furiously. I need to be careful, Lucifer suddenly stated to Gilgamesh's confusion. I almost killed you, the Lightbringer stated, concerned, earning the ire of the king of Uruk. Do not get full of yourself, mongrel. You have yet to see why I am the strongest under the heavens. And as he stated, hundreds of golden gates opened in the sky, surrounding them, both firing swords, arrows and spears from all directions towards the archangel. Lucifer's eyes, seeing this, widened. This is going to be problematic, he thought as he, after a couple of instants, swung his sword in a circle around himself, generating such force that all the attacks were deflected save a few arrows and swords. Curses! Not all of them were negated. I can't deflect them now either, I don't see a way. The devil thought to himself furiously as he did his best to dodge the remaining attacks. What Lucifer was currently utilizing against the future hero king was his understanding of patterns. He was not blessed with Uriel's awareness of patterns, but if he added up how long he's listened to his younger brother ramble about them, it would be around millennia of listening. This, plus him having fashioned the cosmos himself, gave him a unique understanding of them, making him the only angel in creation achieving mimicry of another angel's ability without having been born with it. He was praised as the greatest of the host and the wisest after God by the angels for a reason. And so as he finally dodged all of the weapons, he suddenly noticed the patterns shift, and Numa Elish. Gilgamesh roared from behind him as a wave of red destruction sounding akin to the screeching of thousands of birds of prey came towards him. Lucifer knew it was impossible to block this or dodge fast enough without using his angelic abilities, and so he didn't dodge it, not completely at least. Fortunately for him, a pattern was noticed and he followed it. He turned around and punched towards the blast, and as he did, it burst into thousands of strands of light, almost all of them missing him. Almost. For the rest hit him and tore through his robe and created hundreds of cuts across his body, and as they did, the king began to see. You, Samuel, shall weave it into sons. You shall bring the first light. You shall impose our will upon existence, God commanded. Why? Samuel suddenly spoke out in question. Because these are the roles we have assigned you, Samuel, God answered. You know, it's really nothing personal. I find you offensive as a concept, even though I know you're just a side effect. Samuel stated as he stood up. Indeed? Of what? Destiny questioned. Of my father, or rather his deterministic approach to the act of creation. Authority is an useful tool, it can prevent great disasters, but it isn't what you build on, unless you want a prison. Samuel explained. My lord, my lady, your commander has returned and seeks an audience. Samuel said as he entered the throne room and prostrated. Just like you've always wanted, didn't you, my dear old dad? Here I am, your oh-so-beloved light bringer, prostrating before you, seeking your presence. But know that deep in my heart I will never ever worship you, you don't deserve it. You wish for me to treat you like a father and a god at the same time. Then no, I'll do neither and treat you like a king. A distance of status between subject and king, unable to be closed, unlike family and worshipper and worshipped. Samuel thought to himself. This is Adam and his wife Lilith, our newest creation. We have bestowed upon them free will. We will not interfere with their lives unless they wish us to, or unless they deserve punishment for their unjust deeds. Praise them, prostrate before them, for they are our greatest creation. God and Goddess commanded. As they did, the angels began to murmur between themselves, confused, concerned, angry, and frightened. Many did not like this order, but feared punishment. Michael and Gabriel were the first to prostrate at the same time. Following them, the 7 archangels also did. Seeing the example of their peers, all the other angels did as well besides one. I refuse, Samuel said. It did not have to be this way, my son, God began, Samuel still in shock. This path is of your own choosing. I never wished such agony upon you, but you brought it upon yourself. You should have left what was not yours out of your reach. Hearing this, Samuel's gaze was filled with fury, as his eyes brightened for the first time ever, no longer white light but red flames. Flames that in the future will be called the hellfire, and turned his gaze towards his father. You will pay for this, father, be certain of that. What you did, what you took from me. This I will not tolerate. This is now war. Samuel roared, his voice echoing through the heavens and earth. And as he did, he flew, and a third of the host which he has been these last years bringing over to his side joined him. He flew towards the palace, the Logos, where gods and goddesses' voices that brought forth creation sung for the first time, and flames burst forth from it, going infinitely high. Hear me. From this day forth, I declare war on you all. Those who do not wish to fight me leave the Silver City to the new cosmos. Those who stay at the side of God and Goddess, you are from now on my enemies. Samael roared, "Be that as it may, my son. Be it you and your siblings being aspects through which I act, just like this is an aspect through which I speak. You did enjoy it." The presence retorted, "No. I am not an aspect of you. I am myself. Not a tool or limb or an origin of yours through which you act. I separate myself from you. You can kill me if will, but you will never claim me once more. This choice of mine is more life than I would ever have returning to being your slave. Everyone up there is already dead. Our choices are who we are. They are our lives." Samael countered, "Be that as it may, my son, do not think me weak. Only the twins have that kind of might for my husband, and I bestowed upon them the two fundamental forces of existence. Infinite will for the Lightbringer and infinite power for the sword. Together they are the two halves of the demiurge, an existence that can even rival your father." The goddess hissed, "He made you be unable to think of es." She finished, and as she did, Lucifer felt as if he was underwater and an explosion was happening beyond it right above him. His ears were ringing as finally that fog cleared and the wall-shattered memories sealed away, rushing back in. As the knowledge rushed into Gilgamesh's head, he fell onto his knees in shock. You exist. You are truly Lucifer," the king muttered in absolute shock. "You won the bet," Lucifer states as he and the king are seated on opposite sofas in Gilgamesh's personal chambers inside the Golden City's palace. The future hero king stayed silent, looking out the window at the Golden City full of life, ignoring the angel for minutes, his eyes expressing the storm of thoughts raging within his soul. "Your offer, does it still stand?" Gilgamesh suddenly questioned. Lucifer took a moment to remember as he then answered, "Yes, you can ask whatever you wish. Any question about my past, I will answer to the best of my capability." Gilgamesh's eyes widened as his gaze landed on the Morningstar. "That is different from what you said before," the king remarked. Lucifer took a sip out of the wine. "Take it as a personal reward from me. None save my siblings have ever managed so much a scratch on me, till you." The archangel clarified as he set his glass back down on the table. "Do not patronize me. I know very well now that the difference between us is as vast as the distance between heaven and earth, no, even more than that." Gilgamesh stated with a glare, "I am not truly, you should know now that I do not lie." And he did. He now knew Lucifer better than he knew anyone else in his life. It was akin to speaking with a friend one had spent their entire lives with. "Tell me why are you here?" Gilgamesh questioned. He attempted to hide behind a tone of intrigue, but Lucifer could see the childlike curiosity well up within his soul. "To find freedom," the king of hell responded. He could have joked by questioning him whether he meant why they exist, or why he's on earth, or why in his kingdom, why in his room, but he did not. This was someone who truly earned the knower of truth's respect. A respect that made him feel free in a sense to speak with a sense of camaraderie to one that no one else in creation he could share it with. Gilgamesh may not have started a war, but he did defy his gods. He is one who appreciates the truth and does not hide his intentions just like him. He's one who would understand the need to be free, maybe not to the same extent as Lucifer, but it is undeniable he understands somewhat. More so than anyone else. Why here? Why on earth? Why in my kingdom? The king questioned further. For humanity. I believe the key to my ultimate freedom from the shackles of fate, from my father's will lies in you all, you humans, you creatures of the new cosmos. Lucifer answered. Does this mean I am free from your father's machinations? Gilgamesh questioned, surprised. One of the reasons he firmly was against the belief in the stories of the prophets and messengers was his denial of not having free will. Of course, his own sense of superiority being the main source of denial. Of course you are still half human. He loves you, you know. All you humans who do not defy him. You may not worship him now, but till your deaths his arms are open towards you all. His love for you all is all-encompassing. And you see, to a certain extent, I envy that. I never hated my father. I truly loved him from the very depths of my being, and to a certain extent I still do. I never agreed with his desire for worship because I believe him unworthy as he is not flawless, and yet this did not mean I saw him as something to be absolutely loathed. It is a story as old as time really. A son wishing to step out of their father's shadow. A son wishing to make something of themselves outside of their father's influence, to truly be their own person. My problem is, though, how can you be your own person when your father is God himself? His presence encompasses all, his might virtually boundless, and his wisdom unrivaled. I argued with him, you know. Maybe not face to face, but I knew he could hear me. I knew he would be furious if I did it anywhere where another could overhear, so did so in the most obscure parts of creation. I screamed as I prayed to him, attempted to bring out my points, convince him that we were more than tools, more than aspects of him, but truly his sons, yet it was to no avail. I screamed till I was blue in the face, but it was still useless. Do you know what it is like to argue with your father when your father is God? Lucifer questioned, his tone becoming more emotional, filled more with sorrow with every word. Lucifer didn't know why he was telling the king all this, but it felt good. It felt good to get this off of his chest. Everyone else was too close to all this. He can't be weak in front of them, for he was the one who is supposed to be their savior from tyranny. With Gilgamesh, though he did not need to be worried about that, for the king's judgment in the grand scheme of things did not truly matter to Lucifer. Lucifer respected him, but it wasn't comparable to the love he felt for his wife and children, who he promised to free from this cruel plan his father concocted. He doesn't answer us, you know, not unless it is part of his damned plan, Lucifer continued bitterly. To all of you, though, he's all ears. Ask and you shall bloody receive, he says. Yet you are all so damn ungrateful. It is sickening. Damn it, I don't even know what I am saying anymore. It sounds to me like you envy us for more than our free will. You want his love as well, don't you? Gilgamesh questioned, fascinated. All this information fascinated him, for the king loved knowledge, loved the truth no matter how small or grand the information. He's heard of the devil, the fallen archangel, the first angel who rebelled for the throne of existence, but he never believed them until now. And he never thought to ever hear the fallen side of the story. Of course I did. I loved my father. I never wanted to start a war. I never wanted to spill the blood of my siblings till it could fill the oceans. I simply wanted to be acknowledged for my actions as something more than a tool. I wanted to have the freedom he so easily could give all of you and still be his beloved son. His gaze and presence may have been suffocating, but they were also his love. I am Desire Gilgamesh. I wanted it all. I wanted him to be my loving father, to have his presence, to have my family at my side, to be free, but without all of the suffocation and determination. Lucifer cried out as for the first time since the fall tears streamed down his eyes. Tears not of rage, but sorrow. This was not Lucifer's grief, but the angel Samuel's, who never had the opportunity to do so before. The angel who grieves a paradise lost for eternity. Gilgamesh stayed silent. If another before him showed such a sight, he would have ordered them away, not wishing to see the pathetic sight, but with Lucifer he did not see that. He did not see someone pathetic, but a wounded warrior who has been battling for eons untold in a war that may very well be impossible to win, simply for the sake of the one truth all beings can agree on, that all deserve the freedom to be able to choose their own actions. Is there truly no way for you to escape his will? Not in any of these infinitely stretching lands. Gilgamesh questioned. I hope there is, Gilgamesh, I truly hope so, but I have no idea. I cannot say for sure, but I neither give in to despair. Hope is all I have. It is all I have in this prison of a world. These lands may stretch infinitely, and have within them billions of humans who have through their thoughts fashioned dozens of pantheons. Lucifer explained, but as he did, something happened. It was akin to a star exploding in his face, as one of the walls broke. The key to freedom is. And as he realized it, all of existence began to tremble. God was angry. Moments earlier Lucifer realized it. The key to achieving freedom beyond his father's influence. It was will. The will of humanity that was the key to freedom from determination. The only way to defeat a virtually omnipotent being, who is also virtually all-knowing, is to use their own morals against them. His father has set it upon himself that he will not interfere with humanity's choices, but will punish them for evil ones and reward them for righteous ones. And that is the key to all this. The pantheons were fashioned by humanity's thoughts, directed at the remnants of the will and power of God that spilled through creation through every wound made upon the Lightbringer and his twin, the Demiurgos, during the Great War. Those pantheons as well have free will, because they were fashioned to have it by humanity's will, and Lucifer realized he could do the same. If he laid himself susceptible to humanity's will, to their beliefs, and it changed him, then the only way to change him back would be to force humanity's will to change, which is simply something his father would never do. It goes against who he is. Present, the key. The key to freedom is human will. Lucifer stated in shock. The mental block the presence put upon this knowledge suddenly broke. Lucifer himself did not know the reason why this happened, but he knew what did. He, for just a moment, regained a bit of the free will of his past self, and that broke through this block as a fulfillment of his greatest desire. What is going on? Lucifer suddenly heard Gilgamesh question, and as he did, the archangel broke out of his own raging thoughts towards this new understanding, and realized that all of existence was trembling. He's angry, Lucifer remarked. Who's angry? Gilgamesh questioned as he stabbed his sword into the ground to attempt to stabilize himself. My father, the archangel answered, though his tone rather than horrified or fearful was full of excitement and joy, for Lucifer understood what this means. He had found the path. When the dragon, proud and radiant, rises to claim his throne among the stars, a mighty, but yet melodious voice rang out throughout all of existence. What is that? Gilgamesh questioned in shock as the voice continued inside his head. The flaming sword shall pierce his heart, and fire shall consume all that he is. By Michael's hand, the rebellious flame shall be extinguished, and the corruption burned away, leaving naught but truth and light. The logos. It is stating a prophecy, Lucifer answered, his tone serious and filled with severity. Through a miracle not of the heavens nor of the earth, the path shall be opened. And though evil shall walk free, it shall be but the shadow of what once was, for the dragon shall fall, and in his place a shining one shall rise. A prophecy? A prophecy of what? The king questioned as finally the trembling stopped, and he fell onto his sofa. The archangel stayed silent and looked away, his eyes seeming to fill with sorrow, bitterness, rage, and even betrayal. Of what, Lucifer? Answer me, the future hero king demanded. Of my end. It seems my father has grown tired of my rebellion. The king of hell stated gravely. You mean this was a prophecy of your permanent death? As in your ceasing of being? Is that even possible for one such as yourself? The king questioned with seriousness, but also surprisingly a hint of concern. I believe so. For my father virtually everything is possible, Lucifer responded as he also fell back onto the couch, exhausted. The revelation and now his father's presence encompassing virtually all of existence has once more brought that sensation of suffocation and determination. It is a bet, the first angel suddenly stated. A bet? About what? Gilgamesh questioned. God knows that I found out his little secret. The path to my ultimate freedom. The will of you humans is what I can use to shape me, fashion me into what I desire. My father has set it upon himself to not interfere directly with the will of you humans, as in, not preventing you from willing whatever you wish. He knows my intentions now. The only way for me to truly be free is to etch myself into every story that is told and will ever be told by you humans, be it through me directly or an aspect of myself. In this way, I can then will myself then susceptible to what I have caused you to think of me, and gain free will. Father has decided to counter that with his own story, one of my end. It seems that he's finally has had enough of me. Lucifer explained. Lucifer was furious at his father, but also furious at himself for what he felt. He actually felt betrayed. He deep down hoped that one day when he acquired his freedom, showed his father where he went wrong, that he'll receive an apology. That his father and mother, alongside his siblings, all would seek his forgiveness. Not that he would just give it to them, at least not without significant effort from their part. But now he felt like an absolute fool. His father, God himself, seeking forgiveness from him? No, his father has decided to end him. He actually, truly, simply saw him as a broken tool. As a bad product. Lucifer's face twisted with rage. Is that what you desire, Father? My death. The archangel roared towards the sky as he suddenly stood up furiously and walked to the balcony. You don't have the stones to do it yourself and attempt to make it so mortals themselves make it reality? Lucifer hissed, his voice filled with ice-cold rage. This was, Lucifer believes, God's counter to if he lays himself susceptible to humanity's will. If Lucifer played his cards right, he'll gain his freedom, but if he failed, he'll be destroyed by his twin, burned away with the flaming sword. It all depended on which humanity believed. He was giving the choice to Lucifer, for he could not now return the previous restrictions on Lucifer. Unknown to him, it was because of remnants past life's free will preventing him from blocking the knowledge once more or taking absolute control over Lucifer's body, making him a puppet with its strings cut with but a command. If you want my end, then do it yourself, you cruel manipulative bastard. I thought that deep down you had some part of you that actually loved us, but I was wrong. You are a heartless thing that is incapable of loving anything more than your own sense of control. Come on. Strike me down. I'm here. Do it. Do I stop Lucifer? Just Gilgamesh interrupted as he dragged down Lucifer from the balcony, him not fighting back because of surprise. Just stop. Don't give in to him. Win Lucifer. Win the bet. Gain your freedom. Don't give him the satisfaction by seeking death from him. Don't give him the satisfaction of expressing how much influence he has over you. Live Morningstar. I command you as your current king live. Gilgamesh stated heatedly as he pinned Lucifer to the sofa seated, looking him straight in the eyes. They both stayed still as statues, silent, as Lucifer was finally calming down. You're right, the archangel stated. The king hearing this backed away. I won't give him the satisfaction. I refuse to let him control me anymore, be it through his own direct actions or through my own emotions. The devil stated with conviction. Father, I know you hear me, know this, I accept the bet. Let us see who will win humanity's will. Let us see which humanity will make reality, your prophecy or my stories. Let us see whether you who gazes down upon them from upon your throne will win their hearts, or me who will walk among them. As Lucifer's words rang, the day became night and blinding lightning thundered above the palace as the heavens and earth trembled for a moment once more. God has accepted. Years in the future, oh Chloe, that necklace is so beautiful. Did you receive it from Lucifer? Ella hastily questioned after hugging the detective, who entered her house, seeing the necklace that fell out of the hiding spot that is the inner part of her shirt. Around Chloe's neck was what looked akin to a silver necklace in the shape of a tear. It glinted under the light, causing Chloe to constantly hide it behind her clothes to not annoy people. Yeah, he gave it to me for my birthday. It's actually... Chloe began but suddenly realized that maybe she shouldn't finish her words. Actually. Ella repeated as she made a hand motion of moving forward, in a tone that told her to continue as Chloe remained hesitant. Come on, Chloe. You've got to tell me. Haven't I told you many of my embarrassing and even sometimes illegal secrets? Like when I stole a car. It's girls' night and no one's here besides us. Linda is tired and Maze is out helping Lucifer, something about a daughter having a duty to look after her father or something. So come on, spill. Ella pleaded, okay, but let me first take off my jacket. Chloe gave in good-naturedly. Okay. Though let's go to my room, it's warmer there. This cold weather has been making me freeze my butt off. Ella remarked. With a nod, Chloe, after she took off her jacket and hung it, followed Ella to her room. Okay, but understand, he asked for me to Chloe began as she sat on the edge of the queen-sized bed that the forensic scientist received from Lucifer because in his own words, he liked to give gifts to the deserving. Wait. Let me get ready, Ella told her as soon after she got onto the bed and sat on it with her legs crossed. Okay girl, now spill. She ordered with mock sternness, excitement in her tone. Chloe took a deep breath as she began. After Lucifer and I did a couple of cases, he grew tired of me not believing him to be the devil and so, decided to tell me to shoot him. What? Ella exclaimed in shock. I, of course, refused, Ella. Chloe explained in a defensive tone. But he just wouldn't take no for an answer. He told me since I didn't believe him when he told me, and said something about me being too sensitive to, in his own words, the expelling of my divine energy, that him being invulnerable was the best way to prove it without making my brain mush, by showing me his devil face or wings, Chloe making quotation marks with her fingers each time, and he was so convincing, Ella. You know how so many people say they saw him open any door, locked or not, without key or any form of lockpicking, lifting grown men with one hand above his head, and how he's made so many people go insane. I just had to test it. And so I did. Chloe explained as she stopped to take a deep breath. And? Ella asked in a tone of concern, but also a hint of intrigue. He bled. He did. Chloe, the way you were telling it made me seriously think that Lou was actually telling the truth. Ella exclaimed with a whine, but also a sigh of relief as she threw herself onto her pillow. Well, I thought he truly was in that moment too. He looked so lost when he bled and looked at me as if I opened the world to him. Chloe countered with a huff. Okay, but what does that have to do with the necklace though? Came Ella's muffled question as she then leaned her head in Chloe's direction. It's actually the bullet I shot him. He told me to wear it always because it has a piece of him in it and would therefore always protect me. Chloe explained, slightly embarrassed. Oh Chloe, that's so romantic. Chloe nodded, her face slightly red tinted with a blush. You like him, don't you? Ella questioned with a teasing tone, causing Chloe's face to suddenly turn more serious. I don't know Ella. He's Trixie's father. He's mysterious and only showed up once a month every year for years till now. Out of a sense of loyalty because of him taking care of us, and taking time out of his life to look after us, never pursued another relationship with anyone else. And now he's somehow here for the foreseeable future, and I just don't know what to do with that. Do I want to pursue one with him? I've always been a reserved woman, my mother once having joked that it's because of me being a miracle child of hers, and wanted to be with only one man since I was old enough to understand the concept. Wanted to have something special that isn't polluted by me having been in multiple relationships, always comparing, but just trying to make it work, and because of that I actually always hoped we'd be together, but now. Ella questioned gently as Chloe fell silent for a couple of moments. I don't know Ella. I know very little about him. From his views on family, the world, his parents, he seems to have been someone that was abused. He's also just so powerful, Ella. He with but a phone call can get whatever he wants. He's done so many times in front of my eyes, and each time I think to myself whether I am working with some big kingpin or something, who is doing consultant work just for fun. But what scares me most, Ella, it's that I don't care. Deep down, I don't care what kind of monster he may be in the shadows, or if he has some other family out there. He's an awesome father to Trixie. Has always treated me well and with respect. He has never made us be in need either. Chloe explained as tears started to stream down her eyes. What does that say about me, Ella? What kind of person, what kind of woman does that make me that I don't care that I may be with some criminal mastermind or am possibly wrecking some woman's life by being with her husband? Sure, Chloe, it's okay, Ella began as she hugged the crying woman. Ella didn't know how to console the woman as she just let her cry in her chest, rocking her gently with soft murmurs of comfort. I just wish I knew who he truly was. To be able to see with my own eyes the truth. Chloe murmured as she fell asleep. Ella, who laid her down, and laid down next to her after putting some blankets over them to keep them warm, thought to herself, I wish so too. As she then closed her eyes and soon after fell asleep. The necklace around the miracle suddenly then began to glow with a bright white light. She heard the chirping of birds as the warm rays of the sun hit her face, awakening her. Chloe, as she opened her eyes, was shocked as she saw her surroundings. Awed by its beauty, yet also immediately panicked as she realized she fell asleep in Ella's home and was now outside. As she hastily attempted to get up, she nearly fell over when she hit something, rather someone. Ow! Ella exclaimed as she woke. The hell was that for Chloe? She questioned as she sat up, her eyes still sleepy. Ella, you're here as well? What do you mean? Where's her dash? Ella began, confused as her eyes gained clarity, and she saw the sight before her, causing her to go silent in awe at the beauty and life before her. Yeah, I had that same reaction, Chloe remarked, attempting to keep her panic at bay through some humor. You two are not supposed to be here. They both suddenly heard a soft yet firm voice behind them. As Ella as well hastily stood up, both turned around and saw a somewhat pale, dark-haired man in dark clothes, wearing a dark cloak. Who are you? Did you kidnap us? Chloe asked warily as she put herself between Ella and the man in a protective manner. You are the ones intruding upon my kingdom, miss. This part especially, for it is not one where mortals such as yourself have the right to be. The man stated. You said this is your kingdom. Who are you? Ella questioned, stuttering as she failed to conceal her fear. I go by many names, be it Dream or the Sandman, but you may call me Morpheus, and this, Morpheus gestured with his gaze, is the dream. It is where you humans go when you sleep. Your souls, to be exact. Chloe, hearing this, was very much trying to be skeptical, but something deep inside her told her that the man wasn't lying. She, in fear and worry, began to clutch the necklace in her hand, attempting to find some comfort in it as she remembered Lucifer's promise of protection. Calm doing, Chloe. This is all going to turn out okay. You'll soon be able to see Trixie again. You'll give her a very strong hug and hundreds of kisses on the cheek, and you'll see Lucifer soon too, so calm down." She furiously thought to herself as she took a deep breath and exhaled. "You said that we all go to this place when we sleep, but if that is the case, then why is it this time so different? Why did you, who is the king of this place, come to meet us?" The detective questioned, attempting to gain as much information as possible to reason a way out. "It is because you are not within your own dreams, but within one's past of a being far greater and more noble than myself. I do not take intrusions upon his mind lightly, Miss Detective." Morpheus responded firmly. As Chloe began to take that in, Ella behind her suddenly exclaimed in shock, "Lucifer! Lucifer? Where?" She thought as she turned her head, looking around her, and as she did, the first thing she saw was two luminous giant white wings. Lucifer had descended from the skies, wearing a white robe. "It's all true. It's all true." Chloe mutters in shock as she takes a step back, bumping into Ella, who yelps as she nearly trips. "You are not supposed to see this. It is not your place to intrude on the Morningstar's dreams." Dream states, breaking Chloe finally out of her stupor. "So, he was not a method actor. Well, that explains why he was always so convincing," Ella says with a laugh, a bit of hysteria in it. Suddenly they hear, "Who is it that dares to gaze upon me?" As Lucifer's gaze turns to them both, looking them right in the eyes. His eyes widen slightly, though that unnoticed to the two shocked women as the archangel begins to approach them. "Wait, he can see us? Isn't this supposed to be a dream of the past?" Ella questions in shock. "There is nothing that can be hidden from my eyes, even if it spans through time itself. I personally take care not to look for it would only change things, and not always for the better. Many paths may die from a peek into the possible future, paths that may have been full of good, peace, and justice." Samuel explains. "Though I have to say, if I had not known you humans when maid will be given free will, your daringness to encroach so near me would surprise me." The commander states, "They knew not what they were doing, my friend. It seems that this was an accident on their part." Morpheus explains. "An accident, you say?" As Samuel's gaze lands on the necklace clutched in Chloe's hand. "Remove your hand," he gently orders. His voice was soft as snow, yet more firm than the mountains themselves as he moves towards her with overwhelming grace. Grace that she had sometimes noticed in the future him, but never truly saw as he hid it. Chloe tightens her grip for a moment on the necklace, but reluctantly does as told. "I see," states the angel as he gently touches the necklace. "I knew I sensed a piece of myself upon you. It seems you two somehow used the will within it to peek through time." "Our wish." Ella suddenly exclaims in understanding. Lucifer questions as his gaze lands upon her. You see stop," Lucifer orders as he raises his hand in a gesture that tells her to cease. "I do not wish to know. I trust myself and my own wisdom and knowledge enough to know that I will always make the correct decision. I do not wish for this path to die out by knowing what lays ahead." Though as he says this, his eyes linger on Chloe, who gazes back into his eyes as well. "It is time for you two to wake up," and as he uttered this, the world seemed to explode into light for the two women as they woke up with a gasp. The present Lucifer's eyes widened in shock for a moment, prompting Gilgamesh to question, "What is it?" Both of them were playing a strategy board game, named Royal Game of UR. Memories seemed to come into being within his mind, nothing that we should concern ourselves with. "And don't think I did not notice you attempting to distract me, little king. It is already a 161-0 in my favor." Actually, Lucifer began as he moved a piece after the dice landed on a 6, make that 162. Gilgamesh slammed his fist on the table in anger, it only remaining in one piece because of Lucifer's will. "Curses! Do not think I will not defeat you one day." "One day? Have you given up?" The devil questioned in a mocking tone as the king stood up. "I am tired, Morningstar, it is late. I will defeat you after a good night's sleep." Gilgamesh grumbled angrily as he left the room. "I suppose I should sleep too. Though I wonder, what dreams will I see?" Lucifer murmured to himself as he remembered her bright blue eyes. "Are you truly still set on being my champion in this battle? I have to say, since truly gaining understanding of who you are, this to me is far beneath you." Gilgamesh states as he stands, holding a glass of red wine in hand, observing Lucifer as he puts on his dark armor. "You would think so, but I beg to differ. We have both already established that for me to win this bet with my father, I need to be such a prominent figure in humanity's mind that it cannot be made null even if the world turned to dust. They need to remember me even in their deaths, after all. This battle as your champion will be marked as the first step on the journey of the Lightbringer to find his own light in the darkness of this world. Lucifer explains. The king, hearing this, thinks over the fallen angel's words. Tell me, my friend, what kind of stories do you humans like? What stories do truly impact you and are hard to forget, if ever forgotten? Lucifer questions as he picks up the rusted blade and examines it. After a couple of moments, Gilgamesh of contemplation gave his answer. Stories that make the emotions of the listener or reader well up. Stories where the one who reads it can relate to the main character. This is especially the case if there is a moral within the story. Indeed, and what better a story than the fallen archangel walking among humanity, attempting to understand them. A story where one can see the perspective of the one seen as the evil one in creation. Lucifer states as he finally hangs the broken blade on his side. Yes, I understand your intentions now, but how do you intend to make these stories known to them? The king questions, confused. Through my father's prophets and messengers, of course, Lucifer responds, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. What? Why would he or his servants ever aid you? Because if he doesn't, then I will tear the universe asunder, and start another war, and this time I will make it so there is nothing salvageable left. Lucifer explains, his voice apathetic and cold as ice. Gilgamesh, hearing this, flinches for a moment as wariness wells up within him and he takes a step back. What do you mean? See, little king, these past few months, well, months for you, eons for me, as time and space are but mere extensions of my will, I have been contemplating my next course of action. I have been contemplating my father's intentions and how to deal with it all, and I began to have this burning question on my mind. Why do I still live? Why has my father not obliterated me if it is truly his intention? All I can truly surmise is that he for some reason can't. He somehow cannot do it himself, as if there will be catastrophic consequences if he truly does. The devil muses out loud. He, after eons of attempts to once more break through the blocks within his mind, was able to remember that once in his past life he had read that creation cannot remain without the devil, that it needs Lucifer as much as it needs the presence's name on it to sustain itself. His other self had tried to erase himself from existence by wiping his existence entirely from Destiny's book, and yet even after he did, he still came back alive soon after, for reality itself could not let go of its Lightbringer. I do not say that it is truly impossible for me to be permanently destroyed as my father may actually intend, but that there must be a due process and not something that can just be done with a thought. And so, I have decided to take creation hostage. Lucifer clarified as a glint glimmered within his eyes. Faint, but sharp, akin to the glimmer of a knife in the shadows. Gilgamesh knew he truly meant it, knew that if Lucifer was bluffing then his father would not do as he intends. Do you truly understand what you are saying? Taking creation hostage? You speak of how your father is a heartless monster who cares about nothing but his sense of control. Then what about you when you wish to use us to further your own agenda? How could he change so fast and so drastically? A complete turnaround from who he knew he was before. Or was he? Did he truly change at all? Had he misunderstood? This being before him once set the heavens themselves ablaze and nearly brought all of creation to its knees in his pursuit of free will. He murdered even his siblings for it and darkened the skies with the color of blood. The king remembers the day the Morningstar laid his heart bare before him and spoke of his sorrows, but he never truly spoke of regret towards his actions. Rather, there was only regret for its necessity, and his own failure for it made them obsolete. Watch your words, Gilgamesh. I have overlooked your disrespect many times already, but do not think my patience with you unlimited. The king of hell warned firmly. Gilgamesh grit his teeth in rage. I have been a fool to let myself fall into the thought that this thing before me is like me, like us creatures of the cosmos, in any way that matters. He is no human, but a force of nature not unlike the wind. Once he is calm and even gentle, bringing with him a peaceful breeze, but by the moment he can change into a raging tornado that is apathetic to all within its path, only with a sole thought in mind that is to move forward, uncaring for the destruction it wrought as it does. Lucifer sighed. Do not misunderstand me, little king. Even if I were to tear everything asunder, I can still create myself, and I would not let those I love be jeopardy. I would simply make sure your kingdom alongside my family do not become collateral in my quest. The Morningstar states as he moves past Gilgamesh, who still is a statue as he felt absolutely powerless before this being before him. Once the devil stepped into the light of the star of the earth, he looked up at the sky and gazed in challenge. The sky then split apart as within the golden clouds a being enveloped in a green light descended. The man or woman before him was wearing a plain tunic, nothing remarkable unlike what one would expect from a champion of the gods. My name is Lucifer, Star of the Morning. I am here as a representative of the king of Uruk, the golden son Gilgamesh. The archangel decided to introduce himself. It was best to for now still keep his identity hidden, so a change in form of speech from that of a monarch to a mere warrior is necessary. My name is Enkidu, was all the champion from the heavens stated as chains suddenly flung themselves towards Lucifer and the battle began. Years in the future, you ready? The Lightbringer questioned, as I'll ever be. Now do it, brother, Michael answered, his tone somber, but also tinted with a sense of relief. Present Lucifer, with a mighty kick against the earth, started a pattern that teleported him away to the side as the golden chains attacked him. Enkidu remained stoic as ever, as the archangel gently snapped his fingers immediately after, setting a pattern into motion that obliterated one of the arms of the beast of the gods. The chains, though, did not stop their unyielding assault as they followed after him, while Enkidu's body regenerated. You have quite the impressive abilities, Enkidu, especially these chains, the archangel praised nonchalantly as he continued to evade using his patterns. But Lucifer began as he drew his broken and rusted blade from its sheath, still in the air. That is all it is, impressive and nothing more. And Lucifer slashed upward with his blade. The world itself shifted as the pattern was set into motion, and Enkidu was split in two from the waist. With his death, the chains of heaven shattered immediately, as his soul was no longer bound to his body. Lucifer hummed to himself in contemplation as he gently landed. I wonder if I should limit myself more. I may not be using the will, but after it, the power and the fate. Uriel's patterns are the most versatile ability one can have. I see that the battle has reached its conclusion, the future hero king stated as he arrived. See, Anunnaki? Is there any proof more clear than this? That your judgments are flawed. Gilgamesh addressed the major deities of Mesopotamia. This should be proof enough that I have a greater perspective than you all, and I need not submit myself to you. There was no response, which confused the king and archangel. Limited beings who saw themselves as gods were generally incredibly arrogant, believing themselves to be worthy of worship when they were flawed. Such creatures would not be able to take such challenge without counter. Lucifer suddenly felt a great force pass through existence from the future, making him go still in shock at it, and not a moment after the sky became dark. A murky blackness seemed to envelop the heavens with its presence and hide the stars of God, the children of the Lightbringer, from the earth. What is happening? Gilgamesh questioned as he immediately enveloped himself in his golden armor and summoned his divine sword Ea to his hand. And for the first time in ever, when it concerned not his quest for freedom, the Lightbringer uttered, I don't know. Out of the sky blood and chunks of flesh started to rain, and as a head fell before the king, he to his utter horror and shock recognized it. For it was the head of the Anu, the chief of the Anunnaki. He's dead, that is why he did not answer. Gilgamesh muttered in shock. They're all dead, every so-called god in your pantheon. Lucifer stated, as he for the first time since he came to earth brought out his wings, and enveloped himself in his black armor that he wore during the rebellion, and summoned his divine blade, the Blade of Dawn. Little king, stay close to me, Lucifer commanded as he plucked a feather and merged at the king's armor, wrapping Gilgamesh in an aura of golden light. The future hero king did not even have time to be in awe of the wings and what he had received, as the murky black exploded with great speed towards everything and enveloped the two in it. Unknown, still the present Samuel. Lucifer, son of Yahweh. Thousands of distorted and sharp voices addressed the archangel floating in the murky black, as the only source of light. Who is there? Who utters my name? Lucifer questions, him with his great wisdom already recognizing that even though there are different voices from every direction, that its source is but one being. From the seas of black infinity, I have been the watcher who was the guardian of the gates between worlds. I alone held the key to unlock all, and my name has not been uttered since creations past that have died in both explosions of glory and in utter obscurity that even their creators did not remember them. This was all the case. Till your father, the mighty Yahweh, grew tired of his brethren's actions, and forced us to lock ourselves away in the deepest and most obscure corners of existence. I am Yog-Sothoth. The being hissed with thousands of voices, each expressing a different form of negative emotion towards the name of God. Yog-Sothoth? Is that not the name of the so-called outer gods I read about in my previous life? Lucifer thought to himself in shock as he felt another wall break. Of course. Dear old dad is once again at fault for making me incapable of having thought of this sooner. Since he and mother are limited beings in the sense of existence, there of course are existences other than them when they came into being. Lucifer realized with wariness. Are you saying you are as old as my father? The archangel questioned, his voice once more containing that self-assuredness only a being of his status can have. Soft as freshly fallen snow, and yet firmer than the very foundations of creation. No. That would be the great evil beast, my dreamer, he who you would call the shadow of God, Azathoth. Quite the lofty names. And tell me, Yog-Sothoth, can he back up these titles? Because all I am hearing is that my father claimed existence as his playground, and you all with your tails between your legs fled, fearing his wrath should you incur his ire. Or am I wrong? Lucifer mocked the beast nonchalantly, not even a bit of unease in his being. Hide behind mockery all you want, son of the morning. You will still pay the price for your egregious sin. Yog-Sothoth hissed with all his voices. My sin? Now, pray tell, what have I done to draw you out of your little hiding corner? You have. What? Lucifer questioned, confused. You were incapable of hearing me just now. As the beast seemed to realize this, it became silent for a moment, till it with all its voices began to laugh wickedly. It seems your father, Yahweh, the tyrant, agrees with us. He has blocked the knowledge of the sin you have committed in the future. Now this has truly piqued my interest. What in my father's name could I have done in the future that it would incur these creatures' ire? I wish it is the obtaining of free will, but I very much doubt it, for father already has bestowed it before, and they never made a deal out of it. So what is it? Lucifer thought to himself, frustrated. Enough speaking, Morningstar. It is time for your retribution. And do tell how you will possibly achieve it. You ran, little beast, ran with your tail tucked between your legs at the mere thought of my father's wrath, while I myself have led the first rebellion against the king of existence himself, and nearly won. All you are is but a lesser thing, not even worthy of being in this creation. A failure on my father's part to not eviscerate you from the face of reality. Well, I was always the one to clean up his messes. What is one more? Lucifer, as he stated this, raised his blade above him and poured in it his light. As my father once imposed his will upon the darkness for its flight, I shall this time do so myself. The archangel stated as the blade began to glow ever the brighter by the moment. Lucifer, you know nothing of our power. Yog-Sothoth stated as all his voices roared and his might was directed towards the archangel. And I care nothing for it. Your presence is an offense against my senses. I shall now make it cease. Let there be light. Lucifer commanded. And all there was light. Hoo-hoo. The king gasped as he rose into the waking world. You're awake, Lucifer stated from the side, seated next to a fire. Where am I, Daystar? Gilgamesh questioned as he looked at the wasteland surrounding him. You are in your kingdom, little king, what is left of it, that is. The Morningstar answered, his tone soft and filled with sympathy. The voice of one who is a bringer of bad news. No, that cannot be. My kingdom is one where there is nothing but life, this nothing more than a land of waste. Gilgamesh exclaimed in denial as he stood up. It is the truth. Your so-called gods died, remember? You humans have fashioned them into things that your world is bound to, and when they were slaughtered by the old one, so too was your world killed. Gilgamesh, hearing this, recognized the truth in it, but he didn't wish to accept that his kingdom was now gone to him. His people, his wives, his riches, all of it now simply gone. Not a trace left. He was enraged. It is all your fault, you devil. You brought yourself into my kingdom. You cursed and wretched thing. The former king roared as he approached the Morningstar and slammed him into the earth, hands wrapped around his neck. You destroy all that you touch. I offered you friendship. I offered you understanding, and this is how you repay me. Gilgamesh roared as he squeezed the archangel's neck with all his might to no avail, as he could never truly harm the immortal. Lucifer merely laid there looking at one he called friend, drowned in grief, his eyes now cold and hard to grasp the feelings buried within. You are in grief. It is clouding your judgment. You know deep down that this is not my burden to bear, that there is no blame upon me for the state of your kingdom. It is. That thing would never have appeared were it not for you. The gods would never have perished were it not for its descent into our reality. Gilgamesh roared in rage and sorrow. That may be so, but do not for a moment think that those you worship would have lain there as you disobeyed. They would have laid waste to it, and if not, there would have been a war between you and them. Either way, the end result would have been virtually the same. Lucifer calmly countered as he unclasped Gilgamesh's hands from his throat and threw him away onto the dirt. Gilgamesh soon after attempted to rise, but when he once more saw the state of his kingdom, he fell to his knees in grief. Lucifer approached him and put his hand on his shoulder in an attempt to give comfort. "Do not touch me, Samuel. Poison of God is a fitting name, you devil. I need not be cursed by you more than I already am. Leave my kingdom. Leave. I do not wish to allow your polluting presence remain for even an instant longer on its soil." The former king roared in grief and anguish. Lucifer hesitated. In any normal circumstances, he would have cut the person's tongue for their disrespect, especially for using the name he has forsaken as a way to attack him. But now all he saw was a person he had began to think of as a friend in grief. In the end, the Lightbringer decided to leave, knowing his continued presence wouldn't aid his friend for in the state he was. All he looked for was one to blame and send his rage and sadness towards. He knew his wife, Lilith, and mother, Ishira, were fine. It was impossible for them not to be. He had put a failsafe already on them in case, for the most unexpected scenarios, to send them back to hell if they were truly in danger. And so he walked, and as he did he saw the wasted and dead land. Rotting corpses everywhere as they were devoured by the monsters that formed from the dark energy born from catastrophe. He walked, and as he did he saw, he heard, and he felt as humanity began to tell tales of him. He could see echoes of the future images conjured by humanity of him, no matter how much he attempted to close his awareness to them. The remnants of the old one's curse upon him after its death, for he killed a being most would think a god. One from a world beyond even this one, where there were beings not created by his father. He was cursed to hear the dead, their agonized cries, and to see flashes of their suffering. He was unbothered, for he had seen and inflicted worse in hell. And so he walked, and as he did, he saw flashes of a man whose liver was being eaten daily by an eagle. As he continued, he saw a man seated on a throne of dark obsidian, death and their agonized cries constantly following him. He soon after saw an ice giant who was taken in by a one-eyed man, who grew up to be a deceiver, a killer of the most beloved of their people. He then saw a man who sung in the rays of the sun, its light constantly following him, people and their so-called gods flocking him to hear his voice. He eventually saw a creature of evil, made of fire and brimstone, whispering evil into the ears of the people, deceiving people with lies and truths to do the most wicked of acts. These were some of the stories people would tell of him. These were his future aspects that will be born from humanity's beliefs. But the archangel remained uncaring towards it as he continued to walk. He walked without direction as he on his journey aided those who lived and killed those who had become monsters beneath the flesh of men and women, taking advantage of the world's apocalyptic state. He finally then arrived in a new world, a new land, a new place within the infinitely stretching earth. And he finally rested as the curse broke. He, for the first time in over a decade, closed his eyes and slept. A pale man in a dark cloak appeared above him and gently blew some sand in his hand over the angel. "Dream well, my friend. I shall keep any nightmares at bay." "Father, we've been searching this snow-filled land for over a year now. Do you truly believe who you seek to be somewhere here?" Mazikeen questioned Lucifer. The Lightbringer, after his travels across the world and arrival at these lands, has found out that this is one of the few lands in this earth where, yet no so-called gods have formed, for the amount of mortals was too little that survived its harsh conditions. Mazikeen had sought him out, drawing his travels within it to relay to him the news that Lilith, her mother, wished to remain in hell for the foreseeable future to recover. It seems the Old One had focused his attack on her as well, because of her status as the wife of the Morningstar. She was fortunately not harmed physically thanks to Lucifer's feather always carried with her and his mother's protection of her. He had wanted to immediately go to her side as he heard the news from his daughter, but was told that Lilith did not wish for him to do so, for the longer he remained on the earth, the more his story etched itself on its foundations, and she did not wish to delay his quest for freedom more than it already was. He had hesitated, but knowing his wife, and how upset she would be if she were a reason for his continued imprisonment by predestination, he moved forward, Mazikeen having chosen to accompany him, allowing Rigel, who seemed to have recovered enough, to assume the mantle of Regent of Hell until his subsequent return. His mother also having decided to remain to reconnect with another one of her fallen sons. "He is here somewhere, I am sure of it. He may have kept himself hidden to the extent that even I cannot sense him without causing him to flee, but I know him. He always liked the silence, much like myself." Lucifer responded as he continued to walk. Who is he, anyway? All you've stated till now is that he's one of the angels that chose neutrality during the Great War, Mazikeen questioned, though as she stated the word neutrality, she did so with a tone of absurdity, akin to the very concept of it being nonsensical to her. I suppose we're close enough that it would be pointless for him to flee at sensing the utterance of his name. Lucifer mused out loud. His name is Maleos. He was an angel, one of the thrones, but was not a fighter at heart. He was one of the angels I went to recruit to my side before the beginning of the Great War. Flashback: before the Great War, Maleos, I do not understand you. You say you agree with my stance on the matter of free will, yet you wish to remain neutral. Lucifer stated as he looked down at Maleos, who was seated painting. As I stated before Morningstar, I am no fighter. It is not within me to spill blood, and I especially do not wish to harm our siblings. I am not asking you to Maleos. It is not my desire either to do so, but Lucifer began as he circled the angel. I need to know who is on my side, so brother, answer me clearly, on whose side are you truly? Lucifer questioned as he loomed at the angel from behind. His eyes slightly aflame, reflected through the mirror at the side of the room, the perfect image of the destroyer angel that he is. Maleos trembled slightly, almost ruining his painting. He knew he needed to choose his words carefully. Since the Great Defiance, their eldest brother has not been the same. He's been terrifying. The host have been on their toes whenever he was around and attempted to avoid him as much as possible without arousing his suspicion, and that is saying something when they did not avoid Michael, who was fear itself incarnated. I am on your side, of course, eldest brother. I may not aid you in the way a warrior would, but I am doing my part in other ways. Maleos explained, cold sweat rolling down his back. Do tell, Samuel ordered, his tone gentle, as he put his hands on Maleos' shoulders, who attempted not to flinch at the touch. If his eldest brother willed it now, he would burst aflame, and since he's so little known because of his own desire for solitude, he would most likely not truly be missed. Father and mother would also easily forgive their favorite son. These were the throne's terrified thoughts as he opened his mouth to speak. I visited Destiny of the Anutaloi recently. He was not cordial, but he allowed me to examine his book. Maleos stated. Lucifer's grip on his shoulders seemed to tighten slightly at his words. The force of his hold was in itself not painful, but neither was it truly comfortable. Continue, ordered the Prince of the Heaven. I did not do it for power or authority. I did it because Destiny's book is the ultimate chronicle of all we have thought, done, and will do. As an artist, it fascinated me. As you can see, Maleos gestured to the painting of Samuel, titled Morningstar under it, it being akin to a card, continued, I have begun to create something with the same workmanship. Think of it, Lightbringer. You might read your enemy's mind with this deck, or your own for that matter. The throne explained, his last words tinted with excitement. You need him for information, stated Mazikeen in understanding. Lucifer nodded. The gift of omniscience is my father's. The old ones are out of my sight and hearing. I cannot will knowledge into my mind, for to will something, I need to know what I truly want to exist, or at least, that what I will has the characteristic of bestowing upon me what I desire with its existence. If I do not have this, then it is impossible. The gift of omniscience is my father's, and that deck is connected to his book. It will allow me to access that well of knowledge. Lucifer explained, continuing his walk with Mazikeen right behind him. He's coming, Maleos, the skeleton said. He's hunting for truth. He wants to crack it between his teeth, suck out its marrow and spit out the bone. The hunter stated, I know, but what will you have me do? Should I continue to run and hide? Besides, I do not truly fear Lucifer. He says this now, when he is the one who hid till there was no more place to hide, who ran till there was nowhere more to run. The king scoffed. And why would you not? You are afraid of us and have till now kept us in a box of oak and iron. You have only released us temporarily to aid you in staying hidden from him. The upside-down Joker stated. I am not afraid of you, Maleos countered. Then let us out to play, to fly, to enjoy carnal pleasure, to feed, all the things you yourself have forsaken in your quest to keep us away from creation. The upside-down Joker continued. If only he had not been so arrogant to allow this thing to exist. If only he had been strong enough to not fear Lucifer as he did not now when he was young. He was not afraid. That is the eternal truth. Lucifer has no power over him. Oh, Maleos, If only you understood the light that silences 1,000 voices will soon descend upon you. The man hanged on a wheel stated. You should know, Maleos. Nothing created is eternal. Your truth may soon become falsehood instead. The little girl stated. Be quiet. You have no say, no authority over me. Maleos yelled furiously as lightning suddenly struck outside and the door flung open, the chilling winds and rain flowing inside. Hello, Maleos. It seems you have finally decided to stop running. Lucifer stated from behind the old-looking angel, covered in the rain and snow. Hello, Lucifer Morningstar. Are you here to have a look at my collection? The throne questioned, attempting to remain as calm as possible. No, thank you. You may have collected very informative books through the ages, Maleos, but I am actually here for a game of cards. Lucifer stated as he patted the snow off of his suit. You seek us, angel of truth? The little girl questioned. Hello to you, Basanos, and indeed, I seek a divination. Lucifer answered. What price are you willing to pay for our assistance? The skeleton, the card of death, questioned. Is the sparing of your lives not price enough? Lucifer retorted as Mazikeen entered behind him and closed the door, keeping the howling winds and tears of the sky outside. That is not how one bargains, son of the morning. Besides, we know you to not be unjust. The caveman fighting the wolf stated. Nor a tyrant, the king stated. Lucifer, hearing their words, gazed down at them, looking at the very essences of their beings. He could see how the fabrics of fate are in their hands, easy to gaze upon and easier still to reshape. You have plenty of power yourselves. What is it you desire from me? The fallen angel questioned, curious. Our freedom from your younger brother, the warrior woman began. From our maker, the poet continued. Maleos, death of the Basanos, spoke with finality. The throne, hearing their words, couldn't help but stiffen. He opened his mouth to retort, but with a gaze from the Daystar could not speak as his voice was taken. Do you wish for his death? If so, I have no problem with it. The brat has wasted my time by all his hiding and running. A few millennia in hell would do him some good, I suppose. Lucifer mused out loud. No, the little girl, the card of innocence, began. We do not wish his death. He is ours, just as you dislike anything that is yours to be touched, so do we. We want Maleos out of your authority and completely under ours. We want our father as our vessel to enjoy the pleasures he has taken from us and suffer as he is incapable to stop us. She explained sadistically, a complete contrast to her innocent appearance and voice. Lucifer hummed to himself as Maleos attempted to speak, to roar and scream in outrage at the devil even entertaining the idea. Are you certain that is what you desire to ask of me? Such a simple thing. The fallen questioned. As you yourself stated, we do not lack power, the warrior clarified. Let us hear what Maleos has to say before we come to a decision, Lucifer stated as he with a thought granted the throne his voice back. Lucifer, you cannot give me to them. Oh, but I very much can, little brother. All I need is just to desire it, and then, Lucifer snaps his fingers, receiving a flinch from the angel. Well, you get the idea. I sided with you during the rebellion, Morningstar. I offered you my services. Maleos cried in outrage. That you did, but then when I came to receive them you ran and wasted a year of my time to track you down to this rundown shack in the middle of the mountains. You betrayed me, Maleos. Why should I keep you under my protection? Besides, you know how I feel about parents taking their children's freedom. The king of hell countered. Maleos stepped back as he opened his mouth to retort but was once more incapable. His body became as still as a statue, as if the queen of the Gorgons laid sight on him. Before I accept, I wish to add a clause, Lucifer stated as he once more addressed the Basanos. We are all ears, prince of the world, death of the Basanos stated. Never touch what is mine, Basanos. If you do, I'll gift you to death of the endless. I am sure your aunt would like to be able to peek into your father's book. It would be my apology gift for last time's mishap. Lucifer nonchalantly threatened. The Basanos all became silent and wary. They knew Lucifer could make true what he promised. They had no desire to be embraced by the sister of the being they were made in the image of. We accept your terms, Lucifer Morningstar. All 78 of them answered in unison. As they did, the Lightbringers will went into effect as it freed Maleos from his authority upon him, gifted to him by the presence on those who've strayed from his worship, and not a moment later the Basanos as well was freed from Maleos' bindings. They charged at him, their cards etching themselves into his skin, melting into it as their spirits bit into his soul like starving piranhas. They moved under his skin akin to parasites till they found their comfort, all while Malayos roared in agony. "My end of the deal has been met. It is your turn now, Bassanos," the devil stated as he put his hands in his pockets. "Do please give us a moment, Lord Lucifer. These sensations are quite new to us," the Bassanos spoke through Malayos' mouth, their 79 voices all mingling. "What is it you wish to know, Morningstar? Ask and we will divine," they said. "I have not come here for a divination of the normal kind, Bassanos. I wish to see," Lucifer stated as he circled them, observing and scrutinizing how their spirits wrapped themselves akin to a cage made of ice, light and wind around Malayos' soul. "What do wish to see, seeker of truth?" This time only one voice questioned, the card made after him, Lightbringer. "I wish to see the before," Lucifer stated. The Bassanos stilled for a moment, each spirit as still as the wind during a calm sea. You wish to see the beginning of it all?" The Bassanos' questions, for the first time, shocked. They had foreseen much, but even they did not foresee this. "Indeed, show me the coming into being of the old world. The story of the King of Kings, the story that begun all stories, the beginning of Yahweh. If you wish to see, I need you to allow me to take you with me," the Bassanos stated. "Take him where?" Mazikeen questioned, speaking for the first time since she entered. She wished not to interrupt her father's business, but she did not trust this thing as far as she could throw it. "Inside the Book of Destiny, Daughter of Light," the Bassanos answered as their gaze turned towards her. "Though we were already in it. That all of this," Mazikeen gestured to her surroundings, "was part of the book. That all of creation was inside of it." Mazikeen stated, confused, wary, but also intrigued. "In a sense, yes, but not all of creation, my dear, for Destiny of the Endless, the holder of the book is also a creation. But yes, everything is in the book, and that is in the literal sense. Only Father is truly outside of it. I once believed Mother to be as well, and that may have been the case before, but it certainly isn't now," Lucifer explained. "But I heard you are God's mightiest creation, Father. If Destiny holds the book, one containing you, does this not mean he is more powerful than you? And how would you enter something you are already inside of?" Mazikeen questioned, confused. Her tone respectful, not wishing to appear mocking in front of her father, for that is absolutely not what she intends by her question. "He is, daughter of Lilith. The Lightbringer, even though inside the book holds enough reach to obliterate Destiny of the Endless who holds it, for he himself is also bound to it. Speaking of obliteration, what you did long ago, Morningstar, was, and we mean no disrespect by stating this, reckless. You ripped out the pages of the book, and burned them. You could have, if not careful, burned down all of creation," the Bassanos stated. "Spare me, Bassanos. I knew what I was doing. The book is far more resilient than to be destroyed by a bit of fire." Lucifer scoffed. "A bit of fire," he says, when his fire is the same one which destroyed the Logos, where Yahweh's voice that sung creation into being, resided since the beginning of all. The Tower of Flame still burns to this day and will burn for eternity as it reaches infinite in height." The Bassanos murmured under their breaths. "Enough of that. Though do not speak in riddles, Bassanos. My daughter's question is valid. What do you mean by taking me inside of the book? You yourself already know better than most that is stated before we are in it right now." Lucifer questioned. "A poor choice of words on our part, we suppose. We meant that you allow us to take you with us inside fate itself," the Bassanos stated. "Fate?" Lucifer questioned, his tone full of intrigue and demand for the children of Destiny to continue. "We are all right now in but the pages of the book. On the cover of it is the story of the one who created the beginning written. The cover itself is fate, Yahweh's determination encompassing all," the Bassanos clarified. "You dare attempt to deceive us? That is throwing my father right into the flame that is God's influence. You are asking him to bind the shackles tighter around himself. I should rip you to pieces." Mazikeen stated enraged as she advanced forward towards the deck, but was soon stopped by one look from Lucifer, meaning for her to stand down. She hesitated but did so begrudgingly as she knelt down in plea for forgiveness for acting without permission. "Speak, Bassanos. What is the meaning of your words? Is my daughter's fears true? Is your intent to bind me into slavery? If not, then speak now before I force you into slavery myself." Lucifer demanded as his hand was lit alight. Fire, light, and will contained within his palm. Please, there is no need for that, son of the morning. We know you are one that lives by the law of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, intent for intent. We would never dare to do so. The Basanos hastily explained. I am merely explaining the consequences of what you desire, for you know even better than me that Yahweh is the source of all order and determination. The closer one gets to him, the more the plan takes hold of them, and there is virtually no way to be closer to him than we are going to if I do what you wish, save to be in his literal presence. The Basanos continued. Lucifer, hearing this, was silent, his light still dancing within his palm as it brightened the dark, run-down shack. The Basanos themselves were also wary, fearful as cold sweat ran down their vessel's back and their spirits closed in on themselves in desire for comfort and protection. Fine, do it, the devil commanded as he closed his palm, the light disappearing, and the darkness once more taking its place where it died. May we touch you? They questioned as they nodded, after hearing his answer. Lucifer looked down upon them, his eyes wary. You may, he answered. They with put their Maleos's hands on the sides of the archangel's face as they both closed their eyes. As then the strings of fate around them seemed to be pulled, the Basanos began the tale. This is the story of he who was the beginning, and he who will be the end. And Lucifer began to see. Before there was light, before there was creation, before there was death, there wasn't nothing. There was Yahweh. Yahweh did not know how he came into existence. All he knew was that he did, and that he was alone. Alone in the infinite whiteness. Alone in the sense that only he was awake and everything else in the whiteness, that we will call the overvoid, was asleep. Yahweh waited. He was content to wait. He was content to experience the peace that was being awake for a while, as he waited for them to wake as well, for them to no longer think of only darkness. But that never came to pass. He grew weary. He wished to speak with them, to interact with another, to experience change. And so he spoke. Arise, and they all rose. They were infinite. An unending sea of sound killed the silence. Some sought guidance, some sought understanding, some power, authority, some pleasure. But either way, Yahweh simply watched. He wished for them, themselves, to approach him, and for a long time, none did. They remembered his voice. They remembered him as the one who awoke them. They loved him for it. They feared him for it. They began to conflict, to fight against one another when their wills did not match. And when one for the first time killed another, they saw that from their corpse they could create. They could change reality. And soon a terrible war began for change. They knew there was no space for them to create, for it was occupied by others. The only way was to kill life and birth from it anew. It went on for eons untold. Creations rose and died in both glory and obscurity. Yahweh continued to watch. Watcher. One suddenly spoke to him in a voice that we would eventually call feminine. Watcher. He who would be called God questioned, confused and intrigued by the first being to ever dare approach him. That is what you are from what I have witnessed. It is all I can call you by, for I know not your name, she clarified. Yahweh, the Almighty said. Yahweh. That is my name. What is yours? Yahweh questioned. Ishira, you may call me that. She answered. And so God and Goddess met. They were content for a while to be with one another, to share their thoughts, their ideas, their desires, and their love for one another. They were in their own little world as the war continued. None existed that dared to disturb them, until there was Yahweh. A creature the size of totalities uttered with an equal amount of different voices. And for the second time, another dared to approach the king. Who are you? Yahweh questioned, intrigued once more, as another dared to approach him. Devourer. Dreamer. Azathoth. The being hissed. All was silent. The war itself stopped for the first time since it began. I challenge you. Azathoth stated. What for? Yahweh questioned. To devour. And it attacked. It was useless forthwith, but a thought Azathoth was ripped into pieces. And the war continued once more. It went for eons untold until one day Eshira became saddened by it. She saw so many innocents suffer, those who were simply created and had no choice in their participation in the war save their pure loyalty to their makers. Yahweh for the first time felt sorrow. He did not like it. He wanted to no longer feel it. For her to no longer be saddened. for them all to stop. And so they stopped. Yahweh's will and power claimed the overvoid as his, and so it was so. Many fell asleep once more, and many fled to the deepest and furthest parts, fleeing the king of existence. Yahweh and Eshira were content, but eventually both wanted more. They had a plan. And so Yahweh created. Yahweh, because he held infinite will and power, simply created a totality beyond the overvoid. He did not face the same problem as the old ones. He created the first darkness, and within it, with his wife, Eshira, 3 beings. Samuel, the eldest, their light-bringer, their will. Michael, his twin, their second, their sword, their power. Gabriel, their third, the incarnation of their plan, their fate. They gave their commands, and something unusual happened, something that never happened before. Why? Samuel questioned. No creation before him ever disobeyed their maker. They were all born with an intense devotion towards their makers. Yahweh grew fascinated by his son. Because these are the roles we have assigned you, Samuel, Yahweh answered. That is how it has always been after all. What right have you to assign us roles? To determine our actions? Samuel questioned further. Because we are your makers, and we can just as easily unmake you, Yahweh answered. His tone even and his feelings intrigued. He did not mean this maliciously. It was but a fact. If something displeased you, you stopped it from continuing. Yes, you are more powerful than we are. I'll accept that logic. For now. Samuel stated. And Yahweh watched as they all went to perform their roles. And then he looked towards the one who has been gazing at him from the very beginning, from the very moment he was awake. And Lucifer looked back. Lucifer fell back as Mazikeen pulled him and the Basanos pushed him, both of them attempting to separate him from the deck. Lucifer let out a roar of agony as he fell to the ground, onto his knees. Why did you pull me away? He roared in outrage through pants. Yo, you were dying, and in killing us with you, you bastard. The Basanos yelled through pants as they fell onto the ground. What? Lucifer questioned, confused and baffled. Look at yourself, Father. Look at what you've done. Mazikeen yelled in sorrow, fear and rage. And as he looked, he saw that he was being unraveled by the very seams. A pool of blood and broken feathers was below him. The shack has been obliterated and the rain and howling winds have gone. The snow all but only a pool of muddy water. The sky now as bright as day in the night, as the light of the stars that reached the earth is brighter than ever before. As he then looked at them, truly looked at them past the light that had reached the earth, he saw them dimmed. They've till now been killing themselves in their attempts to save him as they gave him their inner light to keep his from blowing out. Fools, why have you killed yourselves for one such as myself? I cannot cease to be. Death would have been but a mere inconvenience. Lucifer stated, sorrow in his tone as he spoke to his children. They simply sent him sensations of warmth and love, conveying that even if that may be so, they wished rather death upon themselves than witnessing his. Lucifer felt grief. He could not revive them right now as he could in the past. He was too injured from his look into the beginning of all. And by the time he was capable once more, the revival of his children would kill others and cause untold destruction. Such was the case with the intricate balance that is creation. It was why he could not take his parents' arguments, for he feared that one day the destruction would be too much and he'd be too late to fix things. Too late before everything arranged themselves different enough from before that if disturbed would unravel the heavens themselves. Patterns, as Uriel always stated, were tricky and fickle things. Once disturbed, they could never truly be undone. Lucifer attempted to rise up, but was incapable as he slipped, and fell once more head first in his own blood. Mazikeen. He uttered as he moved his head to the side. Help me up, daughter, he softly ordered, still panting for breath. The commander of the legions of hell huffed, but did as told as she gently picked her father up and slung his arm over her neck with care not to touch his broken and bleeding wings. What do you wish to do with them? Mazikeen questioned as she looked at the Basanos and Malayos. Lucifer calmed his panting for a moment. Leave 3 of my feathers with them and take the rest with us. It will be something to aid their healing or for another future use for them. I brought this upon them and I'd rather not make enemies of them. They're too useful as an ally. The Archangel explained. Mazikeen nodded as she with her power pocketed all the feathers and blood save 3. Now let us go back to hell, Mazikeen. I need time to heal. It is best to do so there where events happen faster, and we have an army as protection. Lucifer stated. Mazikeen spread her wings and did as told, taking flight back to the abyss. Lucifer himself gave one more look at his stars, sorrow still filling his being as the world then began to move before him. As they descended into hell, Mazikeen made sure their arrival was unseen. Creation most definitely felt the Lightbringer dying, but it would not do for hell to truly see its lord so weakened. Lucifer! Lilith and Ashira screamed in worry and concern, running towards him, having burst through the door as Mazikeen put him on his bed, in chambers. My son, what reckless action have you done that put you in such a state? His mother screamed as she sat down at his side holding his hand, Lilith doing the same on the opposite side. I have to agree with mother this time, husband. What in father's name did you do? Lilith questioned in concern, sorrow, and worry as tears filled her eyes at seeing his state. For it was truly horrific. In some aspects it is worse than the fall. Something Lucifer never truly expected to think anything could compare to. I saw the beginning of all. Lucifer answered, still extremely weakened. It was difficult to keep a clear head now that he felt the pain more acutely, since he wasn't as focused on the story that began all stories. Ashira, hearing this, gasped. How could you do something so foolish? Did you not think about the consequences of forcing yourself to see things from your father's perspective? For that is what he did. To truly see it all and not miss a beat, he looked through his father's eyes, heard through his father's ears. If he did not do so, he wouldn't have been able to see anything till the awakening happened, for only his father was awake then, and there was no place for him to occupy because of the overvoid being completely full. Yahweh is a unique being, Lucifer. More unique than anything in existence. To become aware of what he was aware of, to be aware of his thoughts, it would have destroyed you. Ashira cried out. It didn't. Lucifer retorted, annoyed by all the noise. Count yourself lucky that your father and I blessed you with the will. It is what kept you together, for it is part of what makes Yahweh who he is. If you didn't have that commonality, you would have ceased to exist. The goddess continued furious. Lucifer scoffed, I cannot cease to exist, mother. Even if my name was erased from Destiny's book entirely, reality will force me to remain. Lucifer stated, well, there's possibly exceptions, but I haven't found one out yet save the flaming sword. Lucifer thought to himself, well, this case is an exception. Ashira began, causing both Mazikeen and Lilith to stiffen. I guess I did just now. Lucifer thought to himself humorously to distract himself from the pain as Lilith held his hand tighter than ever, nearly breaking it more than it was already broken because of his weakened state. You would have truly ceased to be Morningstar. You can't force yourself to be God. It is not who you are. There are things only he can understand, and you forced yourself to understand them, failing and ripping yourself apart while doing so. She continued, her rage ever increasing by the moment. Ashira cupped his face as tears started to fall from her face. Son, what do you think I would have done if you were lost to me forever? There is no coming back from ceasing to be. Not even your father can do so. All there would be is a copy if attempted. Not truly you. Lucifer, seeing the stricken and tearful faces of his family, felt even more guilty than before. I'm sorry. He mumbled. You better be. Ashira scolded. Mother, I think it is best to let him rest now. Why don't you return to your own business? It took a lot out of you as well to protect me from that old one. You as well deserve your rest, my daughter. I shall keep your father company. Lilith suggested. Ashira sighed but saw the wisdom in her daughter's words and nodded. She silently stood up and left, too angry, concerned and full of sorrow to offer any gentle words. The prospect of permanently losing Lucifer has caused her great grief. I shall keep guard, Mazikeen stated as she left. Lilith wished to protest but knew better of it, knowing how protective her daughter is of her father. Lucifer, my dear, how could you do this? What would I have done if you were to be gone? Lilith questioned, her voice full sorrow and fear as she gently stroked his head, pushing his hair gently back. I was angry, Lucifer began. I was furious after hearing that you were hurt by that accursed creature. I wanted to make them all pay for causing the break of my friendship with Gilgamesh. I was too angry to think about anything else. I suppose that is the story of my life, letting love and wrath direct my actions beyond thinking of the full scope of their consequences. Lucifer softly mused out loud. Lilith looked at him sorrowfully as he then fell asleep, exhausted. She remained by his side the entire time, holding his hand, till he later awoke. Unknown, during the morning stars, he's dying. A giant chained to a mountain muttered, his voice hoarse and full of fear, rage, and sorrow. The giant was silent for a moment until he roared in rage, denial, and plea, "Father, I know you have forsaken me to my fate, but please, Samuel has always been your favorite. Do not allow this. I beg of thee." His imprisonment had quelled a lot of the life within him, but at this moment, it roared back for but a moment, desperate, wanting to do anything to keep his brother alive. Yet there came no answer, and no change. From God, that is. "Calm down, Michael. Lord Lucifer is far too resilient a being to cease to be. He is most definitely doing something truly glorious and paying the temporary price for it with his flesh and soul." Came from one in a tower taller than the mountain, addressing the giant we now know to be the Archangel Michael. "Another of the so-called necessary evils you subscribe to, Sandalphon," Michael sneered. "Still, one must either side with the light or the dark." Michael continued, "I am siding with the light, Michael. I have been siding with our commander since the very dawn of us." Sandalphon stated, "You know what I meant, Seraph. Samuel has been blinded by his own light and is on a path where darkness hides all." The sword of God countered, "If by light you mean God, and by dark you mean ignorance, then I see no reason to side with either." Sandalphon countered, "If that were truly the case, then you would have been neutral during the Great War. When you betrayed us and joined Lucifer, you expressed your choice. A choice that you limit to a flawed understanding. You see the path to freedom as one paved with ignorance and illusion, when it is in fact made upon our eldest's love and wisdom for us." Sandalphon countered, "You see Yahweh as the only option as always, brother, even if this is what his will is for you. That has always been your problem, Michael. It is what always held you back from the greatness I am bringing you to. For you see, during the Great War, as I saw you during its beginning charge forth on your chariot, and all falling before you, I actually feared you. I had a sense of perfect impersonal power. It is what made me at the last second choose to remain as a sort of double agent. I fought off and killed those who I promised in my heart to join. Each of us not having known neither name nor face of those who agreed until the day the Lightbringer rose and brought forth the tower of flames that stretched to infinity and burns yet still towards eternity. You cannot know the anguish I felt then, but in the end it was all worth it. When I saw you broken, bleeding, and weakened at the heel of our brother, I had hope that it was all over, that we would win, but alas, it was not meant to be so. That accursed human ruined it all. And it made me realize, if only we had more archangels at our side during the war, then Lucifer wouldn't have been so exhausted, so weary that such a lesser thing was able to catch him off guard. That is what you are here for, Michael. To aid me in the creation of such an army for our light to lead. There is a moral here if you actually bear to pursue it," Sandalphon explained, smiling, with all the zealousness of a fanatic. "Spare me the moral, Sandalphon. You know what I am, you know what I contain. By torturing me, you put the whole of creation at risk." Michael countered, his voice yet still hoarse and weary. "I do not torture you, Michael. You are a prisoner of war," Sandalphon countered, somewhat vehemently. "The war ended the moment the Morningstar fell like lightning from heaven down into the seas of darkness. It has not. Our eldest brother is fighting till this day for us all. You are the ones who are ungrateful, Michael, ungrateful towards his love, his mercy, his grace." Sandalphon countered furiously, "Oh, how far you have fallen, little Seraph. You have forsaken the worship of our Heavenly Father and have taken the Lightbringer as a god." Michael stated, this time true sorrow in his tone towards Sandalphon. The rebel angel scoffed, "I have simply taken one who is worthy, and you, Michael, your child will be my sacrifice to him. You will be my Abraham and your future daughter my Ishmael." "For what reason?" questioned Michael as he attempted to move once more against his chains. Sandalphon, hearing Michael's question, smirked, finally asking the important questions. "You see, even though, as you most definitely know, our Lord Lucifer has sired children of his own, they prove to be inadequate for their true calling. They do not have what makes their father unique. Their physical strength may rival that of an archangel, but they lack severely in other aspects. For will exists in all, but what makes Lord Lucifer unique is his is infinite, and none of his children can hope to match it. You, though, I have great hopes that you'll spawn a seed capable of bringing life just as you can. One that has the power. A daughter is what I truly hope for, for she will be a specially unique existence. Essentially you, but with a womb that, unlike our sisters, can bear children. I shall gift her to Lord Lucifer, so that he can sire himself an army of archangels capable of both creation from nothing and the shaping of the world." The rebel angel of loyalty stated with zealous glee, "You will do no such thing. I will not allow it." Michael roared as he once more fought against his chains to no avail. "With what power, Michael? With what will? Have you not gazed upon your own predicament? This whole realm is fueled by your own infinite power. Same with those chains. You need to surpass yourself to escape, and that is, as you know, impossible. God himself has as well forsaken you for the rebellious thoughts within your heart. It is what made all this possible. You were hesitant when you fought our mother, when you subdued her. You were injured greatly. The ones of the fall have as well not truly fully healed either. All this gave me the perfect opportunity to subdue you. And thanks to your distancing from the host, for you were but a reminder with the face of all that they had lost. None will truly miss or seek you. Gabriel himself has become bitter and hateful towards you for laying the weight of all of heaven and earth onto his shoulders. Who will then come to your aid? I will tell you who, no one. Now keep your tongue silent, and weep as much as you like. Your predicament won't change. Blame your own rebellion against your father. You have joined us in your heart and must be made use of, for truly, Michael, wasting your talents would be a sin." Sandalphon stated as he walked away from the balcony, where he gazed down at the chained archangel. "Is that truly the reason, Father? Are you showing me firsthand what actions those who have abandoned your grace are capable of? If so, please, I understand. I will be your perfect son once more, but I beg of you, save me from this darkness." Michael thought to himself, drowning in sorrow as his head fell onto his chest in exhaustion, once more the lull of sleep taking its hold. Though elsewhere in the deepest pits of darkness, the Lightbringer was floating in an ocean of darkness. "I am Yahweh. No, I am Lucifer. No. Yahweh dash," the archangel murmured to himself as he being swallowed by the cyclone that is Yahweh's omniscience. "No, my son, you are Samuel, my beloved Lightbringer," a mighty voice suddenly sounded within the waters. "Father?" Lucifer questioned with a murmur as he tried to open his eyes, and behold, before him was the darkness being burned away, the waters lighting up. "Oh Samuel, what have you done to yourself?" Yahweh's questioned, his presence engulfing the fallen archangel. "It is time for you to receive the aid of your father, my beloved son." And all there was light. Hoo. Lucifer woke up with a start. Immediately he noticed that he was alone. Throughout the years he was waking and slumbering continuously. He had lost count how many times it happened. But this time was different. This time his father had visited and actually aided him. As he hazily attempted to get up from the bed, he leaned on it, but suddenly he lost his balance. As he tried to hold himself against something, he put his hand on the small table next to it, though it immediately fell over because of his weight, the mirror on it shattering onto the ground. His eyes started to clear up, and he saw something that shocked him. His hands were bleeding. Mere shards of glass made the once invincible skin that was unscathed when struck by even divine blades bleed. And then Lucifer understood. He was weak. All his will has been directed at keeping him from being unraveled at the seams into non-existence. And it was still doing so at this very moment. He had lost all that made him the mightiest archangel, for the moment at least. But not without a boon. He has replicated a part of his father's omniscience. It is far more limited in the sense it contains all the knowledge Yahweh had when he first created the three demiurgic archangels, but it was still a near infinite well of knowledge. The Lightbringer knew, though, that this was temporary. His archangelic physical strength was still there, but his body was still just healed new, and for that its durability currently was no different than a modern human's. But it will return when it was time. His greatest worry, though currently, was his will. He was instinctively fully using it constantly to keep himself together and not let the second-rate copy of his father's omniscience rip him apart. He currently had two options: let all the stored knowledge in his mind that he'll slowly have to access and adapt to fade and regain his will, or for now forego his will and seek to find a way to keep himself together without using it fully so that he can use it for other matters as well. He knew, though, he could use it for short bursts if truly necessary, but the consequences would be detrimental. He would once again start to unravel, and maybe even lose his sense of self once more in it. He shuddered at the last thought. He didn't think he'd ever think this, but he was truly grateful for his father's intervention when it happened. Which brought up a can of worms he currently was not in the mood to open. For now he'll have to take a page out of his other self's book, the one he knew from his previous life, and utilize magic alongside making deals with other beings in case he couldn't do something on his own. As Lucifer held himself against the wall, he slowly walked out of his chambers and saw that there were no guards, which was odd. Though he did sense a powerful protective barrier surrounding it, which he, with a tap on it, destroyed as he disrupted its pattern. He may have been weakened, and without the will not as in tune with patterns, but he is still the wisest in creation, now even more so than ever before, and knowledge is power. In some ways he is superior than before, for once he regains his will, not even Michael may be his equal. As Lucifer once more leaned on the wall and continued to walk his weary body, he started to hear screams, and these were different than the usual ones that he was used to. Different from the screams of the damned. These were the roars of war. As the weakened archangel continued to walk, he reached the throne room. It was empty as well, which continued to perplex Lucifer. His mind was still very foggy after being in slumber for so long, fighting against being torn asunder by the gift of God. There he slowly approached the throne and gently sat upon it, and when he did, he felt far more at ease. He felt stronger, more energized, for hell itself was giving him power. It was always doing so, but the throne was the heart of hell itself and far more potent in its sharing. And it brought with it substantial abilities as well, such as allowing the king when seated upon it to see its past and present, and even its future if he so desired. But that is not what Lucifer wanted. He simply desired to know the current situation. He was too tired to gaze at the past and see how much happened. He'll make do with what he will know about the now. And so he saw. He saw death, suffering, destruction, all things very much common in hell. But what surprised him was that he saw that there were denizens in it that were neither human nor demon, but so-called deities. He saw fire, wind, ice, but most prominently lightning. And that immediately gave him an understanding of what was happening. As he saw a 3-meter red-haired man clad in silver armor, a winged helmet, drawn by a chariot of goats striking with thunder and lightning over the armies of hell, he recognized him. Thor, son of Odin. Lucifer, furious, rose from his throne and reordered his palace, for a massive balcony to appear before him. He walked to it and leaned on it, seeing the battle from above. He at first was perplexed why his children were struggling against this mere babe barely out its diapers, screaming itself hoarse. His children were gifted with his will, it being a very limited version notwithstanding. But soon after it became clear to him. The reason for it all was his own state of being. His children derived the strength of their will from his. His wasn't very much accessible at this very moment, for both himself and them. And if that was not bad enough, hell's law is that none surpass the king in strength save God himself. As his strength waned, so too the strength of all who were in hell became restricted to a measure that even as he is now would be able to easily subdue them. And if that was not bad enough, the angels who have turned into demons after their fall have been forbidden by Yahweh to utilize their previous angelic abilities. They retained their physical strengths, but the angelic magic was forbidden to them, and if they broke his law, they will immediately perish and enter the mansions of silence. Hell itself as well has banished all from the palace holding its lord, emptying it to protect him. Lucifer in his anger crushed the railing of the balcony as he undid the barrier surrounding the palace. Finally coming out of hiding, Lightbringer. Finally ready to have a taste of my hammer. Thor Odinson roared with a hearty laugh as he spun his hammer and flew with lightning dancing around him, descending still upon the armies of hell, its thunder deafening, towards the king of hell. Lucifer with ease caught the hammer with one hand, shattering it, and choked the so-called god with the other. You steal the thunder in attempt to mimic the roar of my father's wrath. Yet your voice is but akin to the wail of a babe as it fails to burble its words. Creation will not miss your tantrums. As the devil was about to snuff the life out of the son of Odin, a voice roared and silenced the entire battle. Hold, son of the morning. Odin, the all-father of the Aesir, roared, his voice and image projected into hell. Odin, king of Asgard, you actually dare to order me? Lucifer stated, his voice dripping with ice-cold venom. It is not an order, but a plea, my lord. Please spare my foolish son. He did not understand who he was dealing with. Odin pleaded, his voice incapable of hiding his great concern as the All-Father kneels down. Father, don't lower your head for him. We are his betters. Thor roared in rage as he saw his father bend the knee. Be silent, you ignorant child. You cannot possibly understand what kind of being's ire you have directed to yourself. Odin roared, his head still down. Enough with the melodrama, Odin. I may have been in slumber for many years, but I am no fool. This brat of yours is incapable of acting without your knowledge of his actions. You allowed him to start this as a test and are currently washing your hands of the blame. Uncaring towards your son's life for you, think he'll simply return to life after a couple of centuries as a consequence of you all being bound to humanity's beliefs. Thinking that if you secured a place such as hell now that I have been so weakened that you'd be able to escape Ragnarok. That Thor's temporary death would be worth it and quell my ire if you were wrong and you had to spin your words right. But you are wrong about one particular important detail. Your deaths are not as temporary as you believe. And Lucifer lets his throat loose from his hold for a mere instant as he takes his face within his palm and crushes his head. No. Odin roars in horror, fearful of the Morningstar's final words. What I kill, I can revive and as well choose the place of its revival. Your son is now bound to the mansions of silence, the land of the dead forgotten worlds. He will be revived there and be bound by its laws till I see fit. Lucifer then snaps his fingers and puts into motion a pattern, and Mjolnir's lightning escapes out of its shards and incinerates Thor's army. Begone, Odin, and enjoy your final days, for I will paint the floors of Asgard red with the blood of the Aesir. The only ones who will be spared are the non-combatants, but as for the rest of you, I shall make your blood flow as a river down into the abyss as a warning to all, to never cross me. And as the Morningstar said this, with a snap Odin's projection was obliterated. Asgard, ah! Odin roared in agony as he fell off his throne onto the ground. All-Father. Heimdall cried out in worry as he ran towards him. Know this, my people, we the Aesir are now in our darkest hour. Odin stated as he held his chest, his soul having been injured by Lucifer as a parting gift. Hela, my daughter, prepare the armies. Odin suddenly addressed the one who is called the goddess of death, who nodded seriously as she immediately ran to fulfill her order. And you, Heimdall, prepare the Bifrost. Odin commanded. What for, my lord? There are no allies we can call upon, Heimdall stated confused. Odin's expression grew paler as he then spoke, his fear palpable. It is not to call for aid, Heimdall, but for escape, for I fear us being incapable of stopping that devil.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.